Welcome to Pick Me Up, I'm Scared, the podcast.
I'm your host, Madeline.
And I'm your co-host, David.
And we are here today with our second part on microplastics.
Because we've all been beat down by tiny bits of plastic, but we've been talking about other kinds of beat downs.
Yeah, that's true. David and I, before we started recording, were talking about physical violence and physical safety.
And you were saying...
I was saying, I think that we might be in an interesting period because I happen to feel like maybe we are experiencing a little bit of hysteria over personal safety.
Yeah.
And I have a theory about this. I think that there's so much constant structural and institutional violence being levied at people all the time, like especially in the United States, like especially if you're...
especially elsewhere.
Especially elsewhere because of the United States too. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we are all in different ways and to different extremes based on the extent of your marginalization, being physically, mentally, spiritually, I will say, harmed by
I'm
capitalism.
Spiritually harmed all the time.
By imperialism, people who aren't white, by white supremacy, by bigotry, by biases, by all these things, and we feel so helpless to do anything about it. So I think the way that we respond is by maybe going overboard and being overly precious about our personal safety in smaller areas.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my theory, because it's like, well, how the fuck do I stop the constant structural violence of poverty, for example, or of white supremacy, or of capitalism, of American imperialism, of the for-profit prison industrial complex, or the for-profit war machine. Like, it feels so hard. And then you look at little areas of your personal safety, and I feel like maybe people go overboard. So the examples I was giving of this is there's these videos people started posting. They're like, every time I check into a hotel room, this is my routine. And they're checking to make sure the mirror isn't double-sided. And they have these special devices that extra lock their doors from intruders. And they're using these other special devices to scan the entire room for secret hidden cameras. And they're pulling up the sheets. And they're doing this whole routine that takes hours every time they check into a hotel room. And these are usually women who make these videos.
No, yeah, I've seen these videos.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a person who's experienced most of my life as a woman, right? Like, I understand because violence against women is real. But the majority of violence against women is domestic violence.
So are you telling me that women protecting themselves isn't good?
What I am telling you is I think the hotel room thing, well, I'm sure women definitely have been harmed in hotel rooms.
No,
like,
yeah,
I can
yeah.
think of cases of women going on vacation and, you know, being physically harmed, killed in their hotel rooms. It happens. But it is considered a rare crime compared to the structural nature of violence against women, which is usually domestic violence. And this also ties in with, there was recently a mass hysteria about women believing that they were going to get trafficked. And it's usually sex trafficking. And while sex trafficking is real and human trafficking is real, human trafficking disproportionately affects immigrant women of color.
No, I mean, I was reading that Everything Everywhere book, like the book about LA or whatever, and like one of the chapters is about like a labor trafficking victim, and it's usually like passport bullshit.
It's usually passport bullshit. It happens a lot in my industry, in the garment industry. A lot of garment workers in Los Angeles have been trafficked. So, you know, human trafficking is real, but you have all these women, and very often middle-class white women in Target parking lots being like, there's a zip tie on my car, I'm about to get human trafficked. And you're like, one, you are not statistically the victim of human trafficking. It is usually an immigrant woman of color. And two, a zip tie being anywhere near your vehicle doesn't even logically make sense as a method to human traffic somebody.
No, that always seems like anytime I see like there's a zip tie on the handle of my car, I'm like, you put that there.
Yeah.
I know I sound like such an asshole, but I'm like, you put that there.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense as a but it frightens people, and I think women are like, oh my god, I know violence against women is real, so this could be real. And it's one of those things that like stokes people's fear. So yeah, we were talking about this, and I'm like, you know, I think that there is very real violence and harm, but because we feel like we can't do anything about it, we're placing our frustration and fear of that systemic institutionalized violence onto other random things that maybe aren't real or are real but don't quite work like that, or like it could happen but it's really, really rare. And the way that David and I started talking about this was with this other thing that I just saw posted on Twitter. And it was somebody posting on Twitter, and they seemed pretty chill about it. It was a video that they, I believe, took, like, filming maybe a hardcore band, and this guy comes out of the pit, and they're not even on the ring of the pit. They're not even, like, on the rim of it.
Like, they're like, on, like, they're, like, out by, like, the bar or whatever.
Not by the bar, like, but, you know, there are a few
yeah.
people back, right? If I was standing there, I wouldn't expect to get crowd killed, but this guy comes out of the pit and just crowd kills the shit out of them, and they post it, and they're like, not to be dramatic, you know, but this guy fucking crowd killed me so hardcore, I'm still tasting metal, and my chest and back hurts, and I think I might seriously be fucked up.
No, I mean, that guy should go to the doctor.
I mean, it's pretty fucked up. I think it was maybe a woman who posted it, but whatever, the gender of the person.
That person should go to the doctor.
Right. So, yeah, it was like, well, you know, most of the scenes I've been in, people aren't like, crowd killing is awesome and okay. Some people I know will take crowd killers out in the street and be like, get the fuck out of the show. Like, you're not here to just cause mayhem. Other scenes, crowd killing's totally normal and not a big deal. So, but whatever. So people were obviously responding to this in a lot of different ways. And people who you could tell didn't have much experience going to shows were talking about it as they were like, this person has just been physically assaulted. Mm-hmm. And it was very, very interesting because then hardcore super bros, like the jockey bros, were like, don't come to the fucking show if you can't handle it. And you're like, okay, whatever. Those are like that's like a super aggro
but that's also,
bro.
I have thoughts about differentiating scenes in hardcore, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, you know, so whatever. So there's those guys, and then there's the people who are very, very precious about it, and it just reminded me of this time Nylon Magazine asked me to write, like, 10 tips, or, like, 10 things I think every teenager should experience before they become an adult. And I was like, okay, sure. And I submitted it to them, and one of them was, I think every teenager, I think you should get punched in the face once, just to know what it's like. And Nylon Magazine rejected what I wrote, because they were like, first of all, legally, we cannot tell children to go get punched in the face.
Start fight clubs, teenagers.
Yeah. Right. I was like, no, I'm not recommending child fight club. I'm just saying, you know, like, it's not, the whole thing is that you do it so you learn, like, oh, it's not actually that big of a deal. Like, the first time I got punched in the face was at a show. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't that big of a deal. And I kind of was like, oh, that's it. That's like, I can handle that. And this is what leads into what David and I were talking about. I don't want a full beat down. I don't want to be beat to death. I don't want to be nearly to death. I don't want to be beaten to the point where there is long-term harm done to me. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like, getting punched in the face once, I was like, okay, I know what to expect. I can handle this. And I'd been in some fights when I was younger, too. And, you know, I get punched in the face, and you're like, okay, I'm little. I fall down. I spit blood sometimes. I laugh. You know, I'm not strong by any means. But, you know, a punch to the face, I'm like, okay, I know I can handle that. And I know if I piss somebody off, which I often do, and they punch me in the face, it won't be fun, but it's also not the end of the world. And I feel like that was really important for me to learn and realize, because it made me feel more confident going out in the world and pissing people off.
Okay, so I was like, oh, you should start recording, because it was like, now I can, like, tell the stories and they'll be funny, or whatever. But it reminded me of two things, and I'll cover them briefly. One was, I can't remember, it was some, like, it was, like, Bastard or something, like, some, like, Japanese DB style band, like, Burning Spirits motherfucking band, played in Olympia while I was in college, which brought out all of, like, the, like, giant-ass crusty guys.
Yeah.
Which is, like, a whole different scene than, like, I have, like, I think of hardcore, like, it was, like, all those, like, East Coast style, like, New York hardcore.
Yeah.
It's like, that shit is, I'm like, about it. Like, I was jock jams for guys with neck tattoos. And that's my vibe.
I have never been into the super aggro bro brand of hardcore, very obviously. I like the sassy bitchy gay version of hardcore.
And I like the chaotic, weird noise stuff. Like,
grindcore.
No.
Actually.
I'm a Faith Void side B guy.
Okay.
Right. Like, everyone knows that, where it's like, oh, it's basically noise rock, but then it was hardcore.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so...
well, okay. Oh, sorry.
No, keep going.
So I was at the show, and I, like, took off my glasses, because I was like, I'm gonna go dance, and I'm fun. And I'm, like, a tall guy, but I'm, like... I'm a slight.
I would call you lanky.
Yes.
I would describe you as lanky.
And I'm dancing around, and I'm bopping around with all these, like, 7-foot-ass, like, tree trunk crust bros, or whatever, and all of a sudden I just feel myself being lifted by my armpits into the air, and I'm, like, swinging my arms wildly, and I get thrown against a wall. and hit my wrist real hard. And it's not pleasant. And I'm like,
it's not great.
I'm like, I'm not having a good time. But I'm also having such a good time that I'm like, let's keep it rocking. Let's keep going. And I went to, there used to be a 24-hour tea shop in Olympia. It was across the street from the venue. And so I went to the tea shop at 1 in the morning or whatever. And the person across the counter was like, dude, your wrist is I'd broken my wrist. I'd been partying for 3 hours straight with a broken wrist. And it was only the person at the tea shop that was like, you gotta fucking handle that shit. It sucked. I'm not happy that I got thrown against a wall. It was a funny story at the hospital. I made friends with everyone at the hospital at 3 a.m.
I mean, I think this is the thing. It's being physically harmed is never fun. But sometimes it happens and you're like, I can handle that. I handled that, and the experiences in life I had that led to me having that experience, I would rather do and have that be the outcome.
Yeah, I look back on that fondly.
Right.
I'm like, that was a great night.
Right, than to live in such fear that I don't have experiences. Now, again, there are exceptions to this, obviously.
Don't, if you are, don't, it's just
because I feel sometimes this is the same rhetoric people use where they're like, and that's why I believe COVID is over. And you're like, no, COVID is not over. That is definitely a real thing, and you should be taking precautions, which I must say, I have the molecular metrics test. If anybody has that, it's it's more accurate than an antigen test by a landslide. I think at the very least, we should all be testing super, super, super regularly.
And, vaccines are available to everyone on regular intervals, and it's a thing. Yeah. I feel like what you're saying is have a sense of proportion.
I think have a sense of proportion. I think that is good. I think that it is important for us to care about each other and our personal safety. I'm never going to do anything that I think is going to compromise the well-being of any of my immunocompromised friends, for example.
Wait, you are not going to be the crowd killer.
I mean, I'm not going to be the crowd killer. I'm not going to go to a 24-hour rave, unmasked, untested, and then show up at my friend who is severely immunocompromised and has been trying to heal from an ongoing medical issue for a month now and be like, what's up? I'm in your house giving you COVID. I'm not going to do that. This is being reasonable. We're not trying to kill people. But I do think the things about being very, very overly precious about elements of personal safety that are less of a big deal and less grounded in reality is a reaction to the helplessness people feel about things like the pandemic, like COVID, where you're like, well, I know this is still happening. Why is our government pretending like it's not? And I feel helpless to do anything about that. Yeah. Or, for example, about poverty and being people are dying because they are poor. We know in 2003, there were over 800,000 deaths from poverty-related issues in the United States alone.
Jesus, I didn't know that number. But,
because the Columbia Mailman School of Health was we were really underestimating the effects of poverty-related deaths. So they went in and started looking at the deaths that were related to people not having regular access to health care, or people who lived in food deserts and didn't have reliable access to the types of food that would keep their bodies functioning properly. All of these things, the types of things we talk about on our podcast episodes all the time. And they calculated the figures at over 800,000. And that was in 2003. And the effects of poverty, we know poverty has only become more rampant since then. So, you look at these things that are really real things, really big picture things. Ongoing COVID pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And our government was just go back to work and die, proles. Ha ha, it's fine, it's over, wink wink. Or poverty, or I don't know, again, the American war machine, going into other countries or sending bombs to other countries and just enabling a genocide in Palestine, for example, enabling genocide all over the world, committing secret genocides, not talking about it. And you feel so powerless. So, what you do instead is you check into a hotel room and you spend 3 hours looking for hidden cameras and checking to see if there's a double-sided mirror and using a special thing you got on TikTok Shop or AliExpress that's supposed to make your door extra, extra secure. And it's
I mean, okay, so not to interrupt you, but I will say two things. Hey, don't order shit off AliExpress unless you're just there are...
Are you saying there's a more reputable, special, secret hotel room door stopper?
Or what's the other one that like the other like weird like app that Temu. don't order shit.
You're saying Temu ships faster than AliExpress, so go that route. Is that what you're saying? Are you getting paid to do Temu ads as we speak on our podcast and not disclosing them?
Yes, I am 100% doing that. But no, it sounds like what you're saying is people are finding the places where they can manufacture agency for themselves because they feel helpless.
Yes.
That's the most charitable case
you
can make for that. Which I think is true.
I think it's true.
I think like the like my flip side to that, which is not like rejection of your charitable case, is like, okay, it is kind of centering in a lot of instances people who are not structurally going to be victims, right? Where it's like, suddenly the
white middle class woman for whom the entire police state exists to serve and protect my quote unquote purity, even though we know actually police don't even fucking care about them. But, you know, that's what the system is set up supposedly to defend the honor of. Yeah,
like suddenly I am like the person about whom like the victim narrative has to be centered. And it seems like, you know, the thing you were trying to say in like the nylon thing, it sounds like, is have a sense of adventure, have a sense of proportion about yourself, like don't fear the world.
Yeah.
Right, like
there are very real things to fear, I think is my point.
Be prudent.
Fear the real things and recognize when some stuff, maybe relatively speaking, is not as big of a deal.
And like, I think it is legitimately a virtue. I honestly think it is a virtue to have a prudent sense of adventure and like an exploratory urge towards the world to try to experience things that you have not experienced before.
I agree. I would say that if a person punches you in the face, the thing you should be most upset about risk-wise is how close they got to you and if they infected you with COVID.
Oh, wait.
Not the actual physical punch to the face. I'd be like, the punch to the face is fine. Did you breathe on me, bro? Like, what have you been doing the last 72 hours?
I have another punch in the face, so I'll make it real brief. I'm so sorry. So I was at another show at the Brotherhood in Olympia, and it was an Israeli garage rock band. I don't really know what
God. I don't know. Okay, that's weird. When was this?
It was just like 2007, 2006,
keep your volume
2000. Yeah, I don't know.
Really trailed off there. 2006, 2007.
Yeah. All I remember about the show is that they were famous for the drummer being crowd surfed while still playing the drums.
Oh.
Which was a thing.
Okay.
And it was like scrawnier than me, like small, like your size type, like hippie guy was at the show and was like in like the circle pit or whatever. Mm-hmm. Which I was like, why is there a circle pit at this show at a bar?
Very weird.
Very weird.
Now people will make pits to everything. That didn't used to be the case.
Yeah, like I was like, this
was the beginning of we will mosh to anything culture.
Yeah, I was like, this is not a pitiable show. I don't know how else to say that. Mm-hmm. But this kid, like and he wasn't like two-stepping or anything. He was just like running. Mm-hmm. Like he was like jogging around the circle. Okay. And every time he would like make it back to me, he would just like punch me in the face. He was like so like I was like, I feel like I'm being hit by like a gnat. Like I am not like I'm a slight human being. Lanky. No one would describe me as a tough guy.
No. I would not describe you. I would say that David and I have been approached in public multiple times, and I have been described as the tough guy out of the two of us.
Yes.
People can smell it on us right away.
Yeah, they smell fear on me.
They smell fear on you, and they smell a fight on me, and I'm the tough guy out of our relationship.
But every time he did this, I was just like, I kept getting more confused, because I was just like, what happened? Like, and I like watched him jog.
Yeah.
Like fully jog around the pit, and I was like, he's only doing this to me. And I was like, I think I'm the only person here he thinks he can take. And bear in mind, this is an Olympia audience. Mm-hmm. In Olympia, this is maybe the one place in America where I might, probably not, but might, like I could maybe like try to be a tough guy.
Oh, you think it would work? You think it might land?
No, I don't think it would land.
I think it could land in Portland.
Olympia is like Portland squared.
I think I think that Portland is more Olympia than Olympia. But okay. We can agree to disagree.
I think I would fail at, but like if I were to make a bid for tough guy in America, that would have to be where it would be.
Okay,
I would fail, but that's where I would.
I think the thing about me that people really sense is that I have the fighting spirit despite everyone in the room knowing I will lose.
Would you say you have a burning spirit?
No.
Like the hardcore?
No.
Like the bastard?
No. I would not. I would not. No, I don't know. I think that, I guess, like, okay, so I think what I'm coming to, my whole thoughts about the personal safety kind of mass hysteria thing, again, is not to say that people should not be preoccupied with their safety. I think we deserve to have a safe and good experience. But I think sometimes there are certain elements of socializing and existing in society and in a culture that will come with mild forms of mild threats to your safety. And by focusing on those instead of the big picture threats to our safety, we are letting the government get away with a lot.
Yeah,
we are like, my neighbor Bill and I got into a fight and he punched me. Bill's the enemy. And it's like, my guy, you are dealing with so much systemic violence at a governmental level. I think that Bill is not your biggest threat right now.
If your neighbor Bill punches you, maybe punch him back.
Just, like, maybe, throw a brick through his window. No, I don't know. One time I had a neighbor who did want to kill me for a lot of, like, bigotry reasons. Like, and it was wild because he was a wild case. He had a lot of bigotry going on. And, he did not like me. And he wanted to harm me because I was a woman. And I think I was very weird to him in a way that, like, somehow interacted with, like, some experience of homophobia. I had, like, a shaved head at the time. I was not really presenting, like... You like, activated whatever latent shit. I think he was just like, this looks like a weird commie lesbian and I want to kill it. He did not like me. And he actually was a frightening person to me. Like, when I talk about, like, real harm versus fake harm, I'm like, this guy was fueled by a bigotry that can lead to real physical violence and harm that is not just a punch in the face. It is like you have been murdered in a hate crime. Yeah. That's a thing to be legitimately afraid of.
I think, I know you to be a person who is quite anxious about certain things about her home. You have a thing about windows, right?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I've politically broken myself of my fear of windows. But as a child, I was very, very afraid that people would break into my house through my windows, and I would set up elaborate traps and sound devices.
But you were Kevin McAllister.
I was Kevin McAllister from Home Alone as a kid. Yeah. Because I was constantly worried someone would break into the house and kill me. Because I have an anxiety disorder.
Go ahead.
I broke myself of this politically by just being like, this is what the cops want you to think. The cops want you to live in fear of your neighbors to justify an increased police presence that only serves to incarcerate predominantly black men, but people of color in general, and make them slaves, like doing slave labor for major corporations who paid the politicians in turn hefty salaries. So once I realized that, I was like, I refuse to do the cops' work for them under capitalism. Like, you cannot get me to live in a state of fear that my neighbors are going to harm me. Absolutely not. Like, the biggest threats to my safety are systemic and structural. And I think that's what I'm coming down to. Like, I think my whole outlook on personal safety is that the biggest threats to our safety are systemic and structural, and individual mild threats to our personal safety or like rare occurrences, we are focusing so much on them because we feel so powerless to fight the systemic things.
Which is not to say don't handle yourself.
Right. Keep your wits about you. But don't be a mark. Nobody wants to be a mark.
Don't be a rube. I was actually thinking, I did the same thing, the Kevin McAllister thing, but I had a BB gun as a kid.
Oh, that's so cool.
My grandpa smuggled it to me.
Love that. My dad taught me how to fire real guns.
Okay, well, one-upsmanship.
I'm just saying, I know how to pack a bullet. All right, that's all I'm saying.
But I would do a thing where if I was left home alone late at night by my parents, I would set up a pillow fort outside the front door, and then like it was like a bunker with like an eye slot for my BB gun.
Yes,
and I would just perch with the BB gun aimed at the front door, and I did once shoot my dad in the leg with a BB gun.
I think he had it coming.
He was wearing jeans. It didn't hurt him that much. Yeah, it was fine.
Unrelated to that, but one of our friends had a tendency to get drunk at parties, pull out the BB gun, and shoot the men for fun.
Oh.
And one day there was a little community justice where all the men got together. She had her BB gun out, and she's like, woo! And all the men were like, no more, this ends today. And they made her stand in the swimming pool, and everyone she'd ever shot with the BB gun got to shoot her with the BB gun.
Wait, which friend?
Kennedy.
Oh,
My
okay,
best
okay,
friend.
okay.
Yeah.
I was just talking.
Yeah, you were just talking a few minutes ago. I mean, for the record, Kennedy is, I would say, an Amazonian goddess.
She could take it like a champ, I think.
She took it like a champ. And a lot of the men that were hanging around were, the wayfish hipstery type.
This is me.
You. Lanky.
Lanky.
So
there's a lot of lanky bros.
Physically, she was more able to take it than the men.
Yeah.
She handled it well. But yeah, we had a little community justice there. So anyway, I don't know.
Speaking
We're talking about safety.
Speaking of BBs and small things.
That's a good transition. I was going to go safety.
Okay.
Micro
things.
Microplastics, personal safety. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into one of those systemic threats to our safety.
Which is not, like, you cannot solve with, like, a thing you bought off of AliExpress.
Or Temu. You can't fix it. No, you can't. I mean, there is actually one thing you can buy online that will help a little.
Is it a filter for your water?
Okay, no, actually that would help too. There's a few things out there. We'll get into the few little purchases you can buy that do help a little bit. But yeah, we are going to get into part 2 of microplastics. We're going to talk about one of those systemic things. It's structural. It's something we legitimately should be concerned about as a threat to our safety. Again, probably more than just like your neighbor who's mad at you because you parked too close to his pickup truck or something.
Unless your neighbor is microplastic.
If your neighbor is made of microplastics, you should fear him.
Though I think we learned last week that every neighbor has microplastics in their balls.
They do, all of them. If you got balls, there's microplastics in there, and if you don't got balls, you probably got microplastics everywhere else.
In your in the placenta.
In the placenta.
Yeah.
And it spreads.
Yeah.
Everywhere. It's probably in your blood.
We're all made of microplastics.
We're made of microplastics. All right. So the personal safety little thing, it's not so off topic. It's kind of on topic. And I will say I still do have a clumsy assessment of where valid concerns over personal safety start and end.
No, I have what's the, like, Justice Warren-y pornography thing about that, where I'm like...
You feel like you know a real threat to your safety when you see it?
Generally speaking, I like to think I go places often. I think that many people would consider dangerous. I feel like I know when I'm in danger.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. I think that I can't decide for anybody else what danger is, but I would encourage everybody to do a real to be a little more introspective about whether they're just uncomfortable. Or whether they actually think that they are about to befall real pain and terror.
Would you
suggest
perhaps some manner of session in which they struggled with it? Perhaps a struggle session?
What? No! What? Why do you keep throwing in all these references?
There was like a Maoist shit.
Yeah.
It was just...
You're just coming up with them out of nowhere. You're pithy today.
I'm in a mood.
You're in a mood. You're in a mood. Okay.
I just saw my family.
Now you're going to take it out on me. Okay, well, I just want to close up the personal safety thing by saying I don't have a firm position on it. I just think there's something there.
You find yourself often annoyed when you go on the internet and you see a specific type of bougie person who is white.
Usually someone who should be my peer. I am now
bougie.
A middle class.
You are bougie as hell.
I am a middle class white person.
$15 fucking lattes.
That is once a quarter. We discussed this. It's a quarterly purchase.
It's still fucking $15.
I know, it's $15 and I buy 2 of them.
Okay, so microplastics.
So anyway, I just want to say, I'm not here to tell everybody, don't stop your angry typing. It's not a fully formed thought. I just think there is something there, and we all feel helpless because we are all getting killed actually by our government. And by microplastics, taking it out on each other. And by COVID, and we're taking it out on each other, and we're mad at the wrong people. That's my whole point.
Okay.
That's my summary.
Okay, this is a car thought. You got one of Madeline's car thoughts.
You got one of my car thoughts out in the open. Yeah. Okay. So, we're talking about microplastics. We're on part 2. If you listened to part 1, we talked about kind of how microplastics come to be, the origins of them, the definitions of them, and we also talked about the effects they had on the human body. This episode, we're going to focus more on the effects that microplastics have, on our environment.
So, like, the world we live in.
The world we live in, which also affects our human bodies very, very much, so, obviously. So, the way we're going to structure this episode is we're going to talk about microplastics in the air, we're going to talk about marine life, we're going to talk about soil, and then we're going to get into what can actually be done about microplastics as an issue. And there's a lot to kind of talk about in regards to that, because there's things we can do to address them personally, on our persons, in our homes, and then there's things governments can do.
Are we going to talk about the giant weird microplastic island in the Pacific?
That is not a microplastic island, that is a macroplastic island.
Okay, that's just like full on...
That's just plastic island. We are going to talk a little bit about the guy who discovered that.
Okay, cool.
Yes, and then also, I just want to point out, in Bed-Stuy, in Brooklyn, there is a coffee shop called Trash Island. And I went there once because I was like, that's funny, Trash Island. And then I got my coffee in my plastic cup and I was like, oh, it's too real. It wasn't $15. It was like $5.
Okay.
It was a normal latte price. But I got it and then I was looking at it in the plastic cup and I was like, oh no, the Trash Island thing is too literal. Like, I'm contributing to Trash Island with this purchase. And after that I was like, okay, instead of getting coffee out from coffee shops in the plastic cups, I'm going to the bodegas and I'm getting the cans of iced coffee instead.
Wait, do you not do
what is this?
I'm holding out my hand in a very Oliver Twist gesture for those who are.
What's going on with this gesture.
That you bring your mug to the cafe. It's like clean, and you're like, "Can I please have a cup of coffee?"
You know what? Not usually when I'm traveling, but I could start.
I think this is a very
at home. I make my own. I do my own coffee situation.
This is a yeah. I know. I saw the videos.
Yeah.
In plastic.
They are plastic though. That's the thing. But it's like a bigger plastic container, so it's less plastic per volume of beverage consumed than if I just went out and got a latte. Is my thinking?
This is again. This is
6 to 1, half a dozen of an
just to drive home the point that I went to school in Olympia. It is very like I go with the mug because that is a very Olympia gesture. You walk up and you like hand them the mug.
I think that violates health codes.
I feel like most people do it.
Okay, all right, interesting. It's like having a dog inside of a coffee shop. They're like, it might technically violate the health code, but we're not getting tested today.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to start out by talking about microplastics in the air. So, strap in, get ready for something you should really fear, because this is it.
This is an airborne toxic event.
Oh my god. Again with the references? Wow.
Don DeLillo, Eat Your Heart Out.
And also the alternative rock radio band that our dear friend's boyfriend was in. Our dear friend from our hometown. Okay, so we're talking about the air. And yeah, it is an airborne toxic event, the microplastics, I will say. Like, microplastics are so prevalent that they are, yes, literally suspended in the air we breathe all around us right now. Right now, you and I are breathing in super tiny nanoplastics, probably, but they fall under the umbrella of microplastics.
They're microplastics' little brothers.
Yeah, we're breathing in everywhere we go, probably COVID and microplastics constantly.
This is really a neurosis podcast, I think.
Yeah, you're really getting into my brain. Again, I recommend the Metrics Molecular podcast readers. It's not the same as the what's the one, the PCR testing? It's something. I think it's called it's got 2 A's in it. It's
not the one where
acronym. You do well, it is. You do feel like a scientist when you use the Metrics at home kind of testing kits, because there's like a giant test tube attached to like what looks like a giant microchip, and you like plug it in, but you can spit in the test tube and it's blue liquid, or you can do the nasal swab. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's not. Yeah, the
antigen tests are a little shaky, I think.
They were great when it was like I have to go do a thing in public or like see someone,
and we have like 2 variants, and these tests catch most of them.
Yeah. I do remember even going to like Union Station to get one of those tests, and like it was like a bored like e-girl teenager like giving me the thing, and I was like, I don't know if I trust it. This doesn't seem like you are the most trained human being.
I feel like she probably was great at her job.
No, I'm sure she was, but it was just like the whole thing was very like,
well, I think
it felt ad hoc.
About the antigen test now is there's so many variants that I have heard people say that the efficacy of them, you're more likely to get a false negative now because there are so many variants, and the tests are maybe not so good at picking up on the variants. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure antigen testing is way better than not testing at all.
No,
this is the concerns I have heard people have, which is why I got the
just get tested. However, is
the Metrics
like
one was
like
good. It is expensive though. The Metrics one is expensive.
What they can't test for is microplastics in the air.
Okay, all right, back to the microplastics. Sorry, I'm really having a COVID panic episode. I didn't mean to.
Okay. So what happened?
I don't know. What happened is I just got the flu. And I know it's the flu because I have the fancy COVID test.
Oh, yeah.
And it was not the COVID. It was not COVID. And I was like, I just got the flu. How did I get the flu? Who gave me the flu? And then I fell into a deep suspicion about who could have given me the flu. I had just got a flu shot as well.
You know,
it hurt. And I got it. And it didn't even prevent the flu.
One thing I will say, like, and this is, like, totally reasonable, but it's just, like a knock-on effect of COVID, is that unless you got COVID, right, which, like, happened a lot, you, like, probably, if you were, like, actually isolating, you probably, like, didn't get sick for, like, a year.
Yeah.
Right. But, like, I got the flu every fucking year my whole damn life, and it, like, knocked me out for, like, 2 weeks. It was a whole ass thing. And now if I get the flu, I'm like, who the fuck did this?
Yeah, this is how I was. I was looking around at everybody. I was like, who did I trust? Did I let get close to me? Who contaminated me with flu? It was very, very disturbing to me psychologically. All right, anyway, whatever. Just, like, the flu might be airborne. I don't know if the flu is airborne. Is the flu airborne?
Yes, the flu is airborne.
The flu is airborne. Okay, I'm not a fucking epidemiologist.
How do you think people get the flu?
I don't know.
Is it
I assumed one of my friends licked their hand first and then spread it on my face somehow.
It is all the licking parties you go to.
I go to a lot of hand licking parties. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the microplastics being airborne. This is a major issue. These microplastics that are suspended in the air, they are so small that they are actually not even measured in anything I had ever heard of as a unit of measurement. They are measured in something called micrometers. So to know how small a micrometer is, there are 1,000 micrometers per millimeter.
And the millimeters are like the super small ones that you can my fingers can't even do the thing.
Exactly. When you're looking at the ruler and you look at the really tiny notches, that's the millimeters. There's 1,000 micrometers in each one of those. So these airborne suspended microplastics range in size from around 20 micrometers to like 6,000 micrometers.
So like 6,000 micrometers seems like pretty big.
That's 6 millimeters. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty big. But, most of them are going to be between 20 to 100 micrometers. You're not going to be seeing them, Some of them are blowing in the air that are a little bigger with the wind. But most of the time, they're 20 to 100 micrometers. They are tiny. You are not seeing them.
I feel like I might notice if 6,000 micrometers gets in my throat.
I think you would notice. Yeah, that's just like a gust of wind comes or something. But most of them are not that size. Most of them are between 20 to 100 micrometers. They are so microscopic, they are not visible to the naked eye. They are tiny. Now, one study from 2019 suggested that people could potentially be inhaling up to 272 pieces of microplastic in a 24-hour period every day.
Cumulatively, that seems like a lot.
It does seem like a lot. Now, remember from our last episode, the human body is good at clearing microplastics in our digestive tract. So we do remove around 90%.
Yeah.
We're shitting out 90% of the microplastics we're coming into contact with. But that 10%, it's building up over time. And that's why it's concerning.
Yeah.
So this is, if we're inhaling 272 pieces, we're getting rid of 90% of them, but we still have 10% of them. We still have 27.2 pieces in our bodies every single day that we're ostensibly not clearing out.
So that's like a half a BB.
It's 27.2.
Okay, that's
times 20 to 100 micrometers.
It's like a tiny fleck.
Yeah, it's a tiny fleck. It's a tiny fleck, but you're doing that every day.
Yeah, and that's going to be eventually it's going to be a BB.
Eventually it's going to be a BB. So, the most abundant microplastic we are inhaling every single day is polyethylene, which you'll remember from our last episode is the most common type of plastic we use for consumer goods. That's the stuff we're using a lot for packaging.
Yeah, and it's like the very thin, flimsy plastic.
It's not necessarily super thin and flimsy, but if you're if you want to make something that's a little more sturdy, you're going to be moving on to the second most common microplastic, which is polypropylene, which it's our second biggest inhaled microplastic as well.
Yeah.
So these statistics kind of carry. So that is the harder version, the more sturdy version. That's the second most popular. Now, polyethylene and polypropylene accounted in one study for 67% of all microplastic samples in the air that were surveyed.
67%?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are all just polyethylene and polypropylene. Now, recent human biomonitoring data reveals the presence also of plastic fibers in lung tissue. So this means that we're thinking that these airborne microplastics are getting deposited and accumulated in people's lungs just from us inhaling them. And microplastics, ranging from 5.5 to 16.8 nanometers have been found in human lungs just from that airborne inhalation alone. Now, remember again, though, once things are in your body, we know they can travel.
Yeah.
But at least some of them are getting stuck in the lungs. This means that the size of microplastics detected in lung tissue actually is smaller than the ones we're detecting in the atmosphere.
Oh, okay.
So our bodies are either breaking the microplastics down a little bit more somehow, or the ones that are bigger are passing through our bodies more easily, and the smaller ones are the ones that are getting stuck.
It's like the opposite of like a coffee filter.
Yeah,
right.
It's like the big stuff. Well, no, it's actually the same kind. No, it's the opposite of a coffee filter. Yeah, it is.
I feel like you because you do the cold brew, you don't know how coffee filters work.
Yeah, well, there's a filter involved in the cold brew process
that you have no part in.
No, I used to make all my old cold brew from beans.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
there's a filter. You filter it. Yeah, it's like you put water in the beans and the filter. Yeah.
But the thing is like the human body is like really good at picking out the big stuff because of, you
catch it easier.
For my
Your body is the filter.
For my like layman's imagination, right? Like the body's like, it's pretty easy to like catch and kill because it's like big.
Right.
But if it's real small, the body's like, I don't even notice. And then it builds up.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're a picky eater.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else grew up a picky eater? I grew up a picky eater. And sometimes somebody would be cooking something with a lot of onions in it. And I like the flavor of onions, but the texture freaks me out because they're like weird little worms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so cooked onions, weird little worms, don't like that. So sometimes, like, my mother actually, this is a nice thing my mother did. I don't have, you just want to talk to my mom. I'm a little angry about it. This is a nice thing my mom did. When my mom would cook, she'd be like, I'll cut the onions big so you can pick them out easier.
That's actually, I hated, Lord pity my father, on the McDonald's hamburger, the chopped up onions that look like little grains of rice.
Yeah, I don't like the raw onions either. That's a bad texture experience as well.
No, I hated that so much,
Yeah,
and no matter how many times we would be like, no onions on David's Happy Meal or whatever, they'd put the onions on.
Yeah.
And my dad would be tasked with scraping the goddamn things off because I just wouldn't handle it when I was 6.
Right. Yeah, so this is what the human body is doing. It's picking out the foods it doesn't like from the mush meal of our tissue.
But only the big shit.
But it can only catch the big shit. So the little shit's sneaking in there, and next thing you know, boom, you're eating tiny onions, your body's getting tiny microplastics.
Yeah.
So this is a problem, obviously. One study in South Korea measured microplastics per cubic meter of air and found that outdoors, there was between 0.45 to around 5 microplastics per meter of air. And this was an interesting survey, because they found that indoors this number was higher. There was between 0.5 to nearly 7 microplastics per meter of air. So when they did this in South Korea, in the place they surveyed, they were like, okay, so there's 1.5 times more microplastics floating in indoor air than in outdoor air. And when I heard this, I was like, this makes sense to me. Outdoors, things are ventilating more. Yeah. It's not all getting trapped. But what we are going to find is that this location of microplastic situation, it's going to vary a lot from rural to urban areas.
Is it more prevalent in urban areas?
No.
Uh-huh.
Not in the soil, potentially in the air. We're going to get into all of it. So it's not so easy, actually, to do this, calculation, to see how safe
I could,
is.
Run away to rural Vermont and be chill.
No, you would not, actually. So another study was done in the city of Paris, and what they found was the opposite of the South Korean study. They found that there were 5.4 microplastic particles per square meter of air outside, but just 0.9 inside. And this was interesting because when experts are looking at all of this data that's been collected, they're like, well, why was the air quality better for microplastic contamination indoors in Paris, but better outdoors in South Korea? And this has to do with something we mentioned in the last episode, which is that the largest source of microplastics, 84%, in the atmosphere is coming from the road.
Oh, from the tires, maybe among other things. I'm assuming it's like in the asphalt, in the paint.
Yes, so yeah, if you remember from the last episode, tires and road paint are both major sources of plastic.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you're living in a major city like Paris, there's probably lots of cars driving around. And the cars are also kicking up other microplastics that may have settled on the road.
Like, people throw their garbage out the window, but then like that degrades into microplastics.
And then a car drives by, and then it shoots up maybe some gusts of wind behind it from the tires, and now you've got tire particles, you've got road paint particles, and you've got any of the trash that was sitting on the road particles all blowing around. So this means that if you live in a major city, indoors is actually better for you than outdoors for microplastics. But if you live in nature, like a more natural place where there's not so much road traffic, outdoors is better for you than indoors.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but this is only for air. So keep that in mind, because we're going to talk about the different places microplastics manifest, and air is just one piece of the puzzle here.
And even in the soils of Newfoundland and Canada.
Yeah.
Microplastics.
Oh, way more than in the air. We'll get into it. Actually, your biggest thing you should fear is the soil.
You are literally telling me, as you were just like, listen, everybody needs to have less fear as they go about their lives.
No, I said we needed more structural fears at structural things that are harming us, and we need to redirect our personal safety, hysteria, and paranoia away from the threat of potentially random violence or small incidents that occur that ultimately aren't that big of a deal and don't compromise our overall life. We need to redirect it at structural issues and our government.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
All right? Get mad at the government is what I'm saying.
And those structures are made of microplastics in the soil.
Yes, which we're going to get to, but we're not there yet. We're still in air, okay? So, it's estimated that annual microplastic consumption ranges from 74,000 to 121,000 particles when you take into account both inhalation and oral intake, like you're eating things, and microplastics you're getting. You might remember last week we mentioned that, maybe we didn't mention this, but people who order takeout are more likely to have microplastics in their body.
You did not mention that.
Oh, I did. That was a big reveal.
That makes me feel so smug because
because you cook at home all the time.
Well,
I also cook at home a lot.
And also, I live in East Hollywood. If I want to go out to eat, or if I would like food cooked for me by another human being, I walk there.
Yes.
It is easy.
Yes, no, I am cooking at home 99% of the time because I'm very budget conscious.
Yeah, and
I'm trying to retire.
By like the time you're like 44 or something.
I'm trying to retire in 5.5 years is my goal here. I don't know how realistic this is. I figure just in 5.5 years I'd stop with whatever I got and then radically restructure my life, and that might mean that I live in a vehicle,
or an octagonal house,
some sort of yurt, a pop-up tent. I don't know. Yeah. We're not there yet. This is my goal because I got to tell you, running the business, being on the internet.
It's the internet, man. I will say, a couple people were making fun of me for when we went out like a couple weeks ago because they were like, "Yeah, bro, we saw you sitting there." Well, Madeline was just like fighting with people on the internet. Yeah. And I was like, yeah.
No, it's horrible. It ruins my life. Nobody understands the negative impact that the internet has on my life unless you were actually in my life. It is awful. And I will say, I'm not looking for a pity party, right? But I think the most telling thing for me is that since I've been on TikTok more consistently, I've had a series of very bizarre medical issues, like a string of them, one after another. It's constant. There's something always wrong with my body now, and I never experienced this before. And I went to my doctor, and my doctor was like, I have to test you for HIV. And I was like, okay. That's fine. Test me for HIV. And the test came back negative, and he was like, I'm really sorry, but I have to test you again because the only thing that makes sense with your symptoms is that you have HIV. Which
is like you are having like your immunocompromised in this like strange way that is having lots of knock-on effects in your health.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're bizarre, and they're constant, and they're repetitive, and they're treatment resistant. And so he tested me a second time, and it came back negative for HIV. And he was like, the only thing that could cause this without it being HIV is stress. Are you experiencing a lot of stress in your life? And I like started laughing almost hysterically because I'm like, yeah, yes, I am experiencing a lot of stress in my life. And it comes from, running the business and also being on the internet. Although I will say I managed running the business for years and years and years, like a decade basically, until I became internet quote unquote famous or whatever, and it was much more manageable. So I at this point it's just not sustainable for my health, and I like have to get offline as fast as possible, or I will like my boyfriend is literally like, my partner is going to die of a heart attack from the stress of this, and like there is nothing worthwhile about this experience at all.
I do worry about that. I do also look forward to you having like a middle-aged rebirth as someone who's like, I read a Jane Austen novel today and went for a walk.
This is what I need. I mean,
you're going to be Hillary Clinton in the woods.
I mean, well, okay, I probably can't afford to, like, fully retire, so I'm probably going to be like, I changed my name and now I work in a coffee shop. You know, It's going to be like that. I'm going to need, so I'm
You're going to go into internet witness protection?
Yeah, basically that. Yeah. Yes, I need internet witness protection. I want to start over again. I'm just going to do what I can do, not running the business, and unfortunately all I'm qualified for is probably entry-level service work of some kind.
I mean, I don't know about that. I feel like you're going to get some job, like, high up marketing.
Oh, okay, or that. If anybody wants to pay me 6 figures to do, like, a bullshit job like consulting.
Oh,
I can consult. I don't really know what that job is, but I feel like I can do it.
You have been lobbying to be recruited by lots and lots of different intelligence agencies. Have you thought about Lockheed Martin? Have you thought about Raytheon?
Whoa. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. But yes, so, all right. We are, doing all of the microplastic inhalation and oral intake with our food consumption. And this is really interesting to me when we talk about the inhalation of microplastics, because I work in fashion, right? So we've always known in fashion that cutting fabric is one of the most dangerous jobs you can have. Like, there have always been regulations, like, if you were cutting fabric, you need to wear protective masks. Lots of people choose not to, and everybody who cares about them is always like, please wear a mask while you're cutting fabric, and people are kind of like, it's not a big deal. But it actually is a very big deal, because when you're cutting fibers, even natural fibers, you are just naturally going to be inhaling teeny tiny fiber remnants, and you're going to get basically the fashion version of black lung. That's what's going to happen.
It's, I feel like we call that fabric lung.
Yeah, or like mesothelioma or something. Yeah, it's not great. And it's a major labor rights issue as well.
Yeah.
Like, if your workplace isn't providing you with a proper protection when you're cutting fabric, that's a major issue. So when you're inhaling these microfibers, they can be natural or they can be synthetic. We're talking about microplastics, so we're going to talk about the synthetic ones today. But it is also really bad for you to be inhaling like cotton microfibers, wool microfibers, silk microfibers. It's all
This
bad.
is off topic slightly, but I do remember I think like LA Apparel got like popped during the pandemic because they weren't providing protection or face masks or things for workers. Was
they were doing like this, like they had like a cardboard divider. So first of all, a lot of factories in Los Angeles were able to continue to working because they were deemed like essential.
And they were making masks.
They were making cloth masks. So yeah, I can't remember the details, so at the risk of getting sued, I'm not gonna say
it was
definitely LA Apparel.
It was LA Apparel.
Well, what I'm about to say, I don't know if this specifically was LA Apparel, but I know many factories in Los Angeles were caught, instead of doing proper social distancing, which like even 6 feet probably isn't enough inside of a
factory.
Not well ventilated factory. But many places had cardboard dividers between people sewing, as though that was going to stop the COVID. And they were these short little cardboard pieces, literally like duct taped to tables.
It was like the sort. It was. I'm assuming something that could be easily flat packed and then undone.
I mean, it wasn't even It was literally like you cut the ends off a cardboard box and you duct taped it to something, and you're like, "Yep, we did it. We're safe now." I mean, people again. So that specific thing, I'm imagining a picture I saw, but I cannot say 100%
I don't think
that was LA Apparel, but it was bad. All these factories are doing sketchy bad shit.
I think, right, for good reasons and bad, I think, like, the LA Apparel, any of the businesses in the whatever apparel type branding network get popped a lot, or, like, get, like, media coverage of their, like, unethical shit that all garment manufacturing in LA or most garment manufacturing in LA is doing.
American Apparel no longer manufactures in the United States.
Yeah, I'm thinking of LA Apparel as kind of the successor brand. Right. I understand that it is a complicated and then it's a whole thing. Yeah.
American Apparel got bought by Gildan.
But I do seem to recall them getting popped during lockdown for unsafe working conditions.
That's probably that makes sense. A lot of them were. I will say too, when the pandemic broke out, we worked predominantly with Chinese manufacturers because it's easier to find sweatshop-free manufacturing in China than it is certainly in downtown Los Angeles. If you've ever worked in garment manufacturing in downtown Los Angeles, that is not shocking to you. If you have no experience in manufacturing and maybe have just been consuming a lot of propaganda about China, or everything you know about China stopped in 2006, that will be surprising to you to hear.
I'm going to say I've walked around downtown LA and in the garment district enough times to be like, I am buying shit made here. That's fucked.
It's really, really, really bad. In fact, when I first met my boyfriend 9.5 years ago now, he had worked in production for a very short amount of time in apparel in downtown Los Angeles, and he quit doing it because it fucked with his head so bad. He was like, this is really bad, I can't do this. So when I met him, he was like, where do you manufacture? And at the time we were using a factory in downtown LA. Really great factory. They were called Lefty Co. I really like them. If you do small batch Los Angeles production, I really recommend them. But I was like, we're manufacturing in downtown LA, and he had this look of abject horror on his face. And I could tell in that moment, he was like, oh, you're a bad person. Like, in his head, instantly. He was like, oh, this is a bad person, and I've misjudged the situation. We'd only been dating for like 2 months. And I was like, no, I swear it's a really nice factory. Like, it's not what you're thinking. And he was like, yeah, okay, sure. So a couple weeks later, I was like, I have to go drop off this fabric for my factory. Like, do you want to come with me? And he was like, yeah, that's fine, but I'm not coming inside. And I was like, no, I think you should come inside.
Yeah.
So he came with me, and we went inside, and he was like, holy shit, this is the nicest factory I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, yeah, they do things differently here. Like, it's small. They don't have the setup to do a lot of things. Like, they can't do, like, knit-in sweaters, for example. But they can do a lot here. And they're a good factory. I like them. They do good cut and sew. They're friendly, whatever. But I remember him just being, like, shocked because he had been working in production and had never seen like basically something that wasn't a sweatshop. You remember, I don't know if it was when this was still going on, but there's a building in the garment district that does galleries or whatever. Yes, I remember this.
And I don't know, like, we went a few times together just to go to shows there or whatever. But when I first started going there, you would walk around and there would be like full-on sweatshops and like some of the spaces where it would just be like you'd walk by a room and it would be an unair conditioned space where a bunch of people were sewing t-shirts.
Yeah.
And then you'd walk into the next room and it would be like a fully air conditioned gallery.
Right.
And it was like, I don't.
It's not great.
Yeah, it's not great.
But yeah, so when the
so garment cutting and microplastics.
So when COVID broke out, actually, in China, first and foremost, all of our manufacturers shut down. They took lockdowns seriously in China.
Yeah.
They had a zero COVID policy they were aiming for. And as a result, they actually had significantly fewer COVID infections and deaths in China, especially given their population compared to the United States. So all of our manufacturers took COVID precautions very, very seriously. They were shut down for months at a time. They were like, absolutely nobody is working. If they did work, they worked skeleton crews, literally where it's like our cutter is the only person in the building that leaves. Then comes in the sample maker. The sample maker sews by herself, and then she leaves. And it was very, very strict like that. And that was only after months where they like kind of
had like a lockdown on the lockdown.
Oh, they had a real lockdown. Like, we didn't have a lockdown. We were like, what if you didn't leave your house? Ha ha. No, they were like, no, you cannot leave your house. We are bringing you food to your door. Like, the government is providing you food. Like, it rash. So whatever. When this happened, though, it was before the United States had cases, and one of our manufacturers was like, hey, so we can't work for 2 months, which means obviously your production is going to be delayed, whatever. I'm sending you some N95 masks we have because we get them for free from the government, and I don't know what's up with your government, but I just want you to be prepared. And she sent me a whole box of N95 masks, and I remember being like, what the fuck am I going to do with these? And then like 2 weeks later, it was like, hey, COVID, blah, 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 you need to wear masks. And I was like, oh my God, like... So I remember that, but she was like, we've always had them here for our fabric cutters. So when the government was like, okay, you guys need to be masking and like not going into work, we all just took them home from the factory because the cutters were wearing them already.
Madeline Pendleton #1 shill for the Chinese Communist Party. Again.
President Xi, I'm here. I'm ready to consult. What's up with that? But no, I remember this. So anyway, if you're working with specifically synthetic fibers or fabrics, the microfibers that kick up will be a form of microplastics. Probably, depending. There are some synthetic fibers that people call semi-synthetic because they're heavily chemically treated, but they're actually derived from plant pulp, like plant cellulose. So those would be less of a thing, but some fibers would be a microplastic. So this goes along with the inhalation thing, right? So workers in polymer factories in the Netherlands have been found, for example, to be more likely to suffer from chronic respiratory diseases than the general population from this kind of thing. And in Canada and the United States, nylon flocking factory employees get diagnosed more often with work-related lung disease from this issue as well. Mm-hmm. So this is something, again, that like when we talk about microfibers, microplastics, whatever being released into the world, if you work in the fashion industry, you've been familiar with this.
Yeah.
If you've done sewing, if you've done cutting, whatever. But what we are just now finding out is just out in the world, microfibers, yes, but more than that, microplastics derived from other places are also getting inhaled en masse by everyone every single day.
Like, it's not just like fabric cutting, it's just like plastic is a part of so much industrial production and also just like commerce.
Right. And while people working in a place where you're cutting fabrics, you most of people know the risk unless nobody ever told you and your employer's super shitty and sketchy, which does happen. But a lot of people know the risk, so they're preparing. They're like, oh, I know I'm in an environment where I'm
going to wear like a
microplastics.
respirator or something.
I'm wearing this, yes. But average people are also doing this, and they are not prepared, and they have no idea this is happening at all. Mm-hmm. So this is like a really interesting thing for me. I just had to throw in the fashion stuff because that's my industry. And I'm like, oh, like the threat that you have, for lung disease is higher if you work in a place where you're inhaling microfibers every single day, definitely. But that doesn't mean it's non-existent just for average people.
So is this like shedding from like manufacturing and production, or is this just like the plastic bag that you get because you forgot your bags to go to the grocery store kind of thing?
Well, if you're working in a factory, it's shedding from the fibers. When you cut the fibers, little bits fall off, especially if you're working like faux fur or something like that. There's actually specific ways some fabrics have to be cut to minimize the shedding. Like you have to turn them upside down, and there's like a cutting technique.
I'm assuming this is also just like if you work in like a bottling plant that like it does like plastic bottles of Coca-Cola or some shit.
Well, remember that statistic, 67% of the inhaled microplastics are the top 2 forms of plastic that are not clothing related.
Yeah.
So clothing is a really small piece of this puzzle. What the average person is inhaling walking around all day, it's more likely to come from things like packaging.
Or like, oh, like I like went on a picnic and like grabbed like the plastic forks and spoons, and that also,
who knows, a tiny bit chipped off or whatever. Yes. So this is very fascinating to me. The clothing thing, it's just in my world, maybe people talk about like, oh my God, the microplastics in your clothes all the time.
Yeah, I
but
mean, people come for you about this often enough to where.
I mean, yeah, but it's interesting because, we're going to get into the soil thing, but being raised where we are.
Yeah.
Where we were raised in Fresno, the funny thing about me is like, depending on the day you get me or what we're talking about, I'm like, Fresno is a sprawling urban metropolis. It is a city. Or, like I said before, it's like Fresno is farm. All we are is farm, and I know farm. Yeehaw.
Yeah, you have some of the most fakakta ass, like, we've talked about this not recording type thing. The way you describe Fresno to me is bizarre. Constantly. I think it's not inaccurate, but there's some shit that you talk, like the drive-by at Alberto's.
Okay, yes, but I told you this story, and you said that only happened once, and I said, David, it happened.
Yes, I recognize that, but like that is like an extraordinary thing.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't say it happened every day. I just said it happened.
I think of Fresno, right? I was actually talking. My dad is from Stockton, and so we have like very similar like Central Valley growing up type experiences, and also he raised me in Fresno.
Yes.
And I think of Fresno as a city that was always a way station for shipping of agricultural produce. So it became a city to ship ag produce, and that was when you did that by train.
Yes.
And then pure speculation, but the thing that I think about is the I-5 was built in the early 70s, which bypasses Fresno and became the main sort of source of, or like the main sort of route for agricultural shipping. Because it was
happening via cargo
truck. And like my dad's experience was like, my grandpa used to work for the Port of Stockton. The Port of Stockton's shipping went down a lot because everything went to the I-5.
Yeah.
And then went to, like, instead of Port of Stockton, it went to Long Beach. And so the only thing that became valuable in Fresno is real estate.
And methamphetamines. We became a major hub for methamphetamine distribution.
That's if you're like a bulldog who's not a part of the...
I mean, it's a major part of Fresno.
But if you're, like, in the, like, above-ground economy.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
I'm guessing the people who did the drive-by at Alberto's were not in the above-ground economy.
Sure. I'm guessing
the majority of violence that happened in Fresno was business.
Yeah, but...
And it was not above-ground business.
So, right, like, my experience of Fresno was like, it's like this northward crawl of, like, subdivision after subdivision and stupid mall after stupid mall. Because the only thing that is valuable in Fresno at a certain point is real estate.
And it's not particularly valuable.
And it's not particularly valuable, but, like, you can produce a new subdivision and you can, like, clear away some, like, vineyard or, like, orange grove or whatever and, like, make a new subdivision of housing because that's more profitable.
I think I talked about that.
Yeah.
In my book, actually, when I talked about Fresno. It's like Fresno is a place that likes to sprawl.
Yeah, and I think, right, like, the reason for it is, like, there used to be an economy here that was, like, and this is, like, honestly, like, synecdoche for, like, the fucking United States. Like, there used to be an economy here, and now we're just, like, subdividing the land and turning it into stupid houses.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think maybe the difference in how you and I experience Fresno has to do with the fact that at least one or potentially both of my parents were drug dealers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, my parents were teachers.
Right.
And, it's funny because I think about it sometimes where, like, we grew up, like, half a mile from one another.
Yeah, we grew up in a really close proximity to each other. But I think that
it's different experiences.
Different experiences, yeah, for sure. But so what I will say is that you and I were definitely, because Fresno is a city, but it is surrounded by ag, and what you said is correct. A lot of industry in Fresno is still agriculturally related, even though Fresno is a city. It's got over 500,000 people in it. It's a city. But one of the things we grew up with is kind of being, like, surrounded by, like, agricultural conversation constantly. It was constantly a subject of political conversation.
My labor politics are entirely informed by it, right? Like,
yes,
all of
100%.
that shit.
Like, this is something we grew up hearing constantly, and so for us, we grew up hearing about the ill effects of agrochemicals.
Yeah.
Things like cotton production, which destroyed Tulare Lake.
Yeah, and, if you paid it, like, if you listen to, like, UFW members talk about their experiences in the farms with, like, toxic chemicals, you got, like, a real good sense for how that, like where the rubber hit the road. Yes. On that shit.
So I think it's really interesting because for people who didn't have that experience, it's very easy for them to look at fashion, right, at clothing production and for fabrics, and to be like, well, microplastics are bad, so the fibers that produce microplastics, the synthetic fibers, those are the ones that are really, really bad for you, and I'm going to avoid those. But we're going to get into, especially when we talk about soil, is actually the natural, quote-unquote natural fibers are also a major source of microplastics as well, because the process of growing things like cotton is incredibly hard on the environment, on human beings. From a labor perspective, it is awful. It's bad for people and the planet, and part of the ways in which it is bad for people and the planet is that it causes a massive amount of microplastics to enter the environment. So that's something we are going to touch on as it pertains to the whole fashion thing too, and this is something that was natural to me. So when everyone was like, oh no, you're using polyester, you should use cotton. And I'm like, why are you saying that? Like, cotton's any better than polyester? Like,
also, okay,
it's really, really bad too. It also releases microplastics. And I realized that's not common sense for people because they didn't grow up surrounded by cotton production.
Can I just say, this is one of those things that, like, okay, so set aside the microplastics. It was like, wait, no, I'm going to use the word synecdoche again. Cotton has not been historically a synecdoche for, like, racial injustice in the United States history. Like, it has not just been Right, like, it is in popular culture as, like, I'm not going to sing the songs, but we
no,
know the fucking songs.
It is rife for exploitation in a number of ways. Environmental exploitation, labor exploitation, or racial exploitation. It is bad. So this is one of those things where I'm like, I think people want an easy way to be a good consumer. But there's no way to be a good consumer under capitalism. And this is what we mean when we say there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. It doesn't mean just do whatever the fuck you want, but it means recognize that, like, capitalism is an unsustainable system that is going to destroy us all, and the best way to be a good consumer under capitalism is to consume less.
I was just like, not consume if you don't have to.
Not consume if you don't have to, exactly. So I say that as a person who has to sell clothes for a living. So it's hard. It's a hard catch-22 to find myself, and most of us probably have to sell shit we don't need that people don't need for a living.
So what you're saying is, buy tunnel vision once and for life. All tunnel vision clothing will last you your whole life, guaranteed, absolutely.
Well, here is what I will say about the clothes we make. It's normal when you buy clothes, if you wear them, that you will need to repair them. That is a very normal thing. Sometimes you will buy things and you need to repair them. If something breaks quickly and you're like, this is not normal wear and tear, anytime you email us, we're like, we're going to get you a replacement, or we're going to reimburse you if you take this to get repaired. Show us the receipt. We will pay for it. Because we want to encourage people not to throw things away. But if we give you a replacement, if you send it back to us, we usually sell them in our sample sales to people who are handy, who will reuse the item so it doesn't go to waste.
I'm sorry. Tunnel vision branded sewing kits?
I mean, I think that's a really cute idea, and we should send them with everything. I think that's really cute, but the consumer mindset is like, well, it's going to break. And it's like, well, every piece of clothing you wear probably will break. Yes, if you're wearing it enough.
I feel like it was like cool among like Etsy type people, right? Like the Japanese type mending that's like shishiko or whatever, where it's like the stitching.
I don't know, like visible mending?
Yeah.
I think that's just so cool. Yeah. But I mean, like, we do have a policy. I mean, our general customer service policy is like, if we fuck up, we go above and beyond to fix it. So, like, if you get something and you're like, this broke in 2 months, you're like, yeah, that's not normal. Something weird happened there, and we're going to try to fix it for you. But I think the coolest thing we do is we do, like, a buyback program.
Yeah.
So let's say you have clothes that are really, really old from tunnel vision, and you're like, I just don't wear these anymore. You can send them back to us, and we will sell them like a thrift store would sell them at like 50% off or 75% off, depending on the grade. We give it like a grade, like grade A or grade B, and they get bought up like the same day. Like these things never sit. Like people want them, people use them, they go on to have a second life, and we give you a gift certificate code for, based on the grade of the clothing, so you can get something else you like. And to me, I think that's one of the best things we've implemented, because it's like, no, we want these clothes to be in circulation, and just because you are done with it doesn't mean somebody else isn't done with it. And I would rather people buy our secondhand clothing than our firsthand clothing, and that's why we still sell vintage, even though it is not profitable and it's a pain in the ass and we lose money on it constantly. And
I've seen what the bins look like. It's not pleasant.
Or you haven't even been to the rag house, though, because you can't go there. You're not allowed.
Wait, could you like smuggle me in as like a fake
Okay, so I am kind of friendly with two of the guys, so I think I could smuggle you in, but we'd have to pretend you worked for Tunnel Vision.
I already do that anyway.
Yeah, knowing you'd get hurt in there, though. You're a liability.
Yeah,
You'd get knocked in the head with something and pass out.
Someone was questioning my height recently, which I was like, I don't really. They hadn't met me.
Oh yeah, you're very tall. David's very tall. David is so tall that he has to say he's shorter than he is, so he doesn't appear freakish.
No, I also do the thing. I've told you this. This is an old running joke. If I sense that a man is lying about his height or whatever, I just tell in like a social type situation, I just start saying I'm 6 feet tall.
Oh, that's funny. David's way taller than 6 feet.
Just to make him feel uncomfortable.
That's really funny. I like that. You're doing God's work out here. Okay, so back to this whole microplastic situation. One interesting thing about microplastics in the environment is that because they're airborne, a lot of people have been researching how they might be affecting our clouds.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So environmental analytical chemist Denise Mitrano of Zurich University in Switzerland studies how plastics can change clouds, potentially altering temperature and rainfall patterns.
Yeah, I was going to, because it was like, you said soil, you said and I was like, I feel like I seem to recall something from elementary school about a precipitation cycle.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's everywhere. And on top of her researching this for her living, there's also like a Yale report that came out that said, clouds are forming right when water or ice condenses on quote-unquote seeds in the air, which are usually tiny particles of dust or salt or sand or soot.
Or microplastics.
Yeah, other materials thrown out by burning fossil fuels, forest fires, cooking, volcanoes. And there are tons of these fine particles, which are called aerosols, in the skies. And we know there's a lot more since the Industrial Revolution. So they're affecting, obviously, the quality of the air we breathe. They're also, though, affecting the color of our sunsets. And yeah, confirmed the number and types of clouds in our skies. So Yale says in recent years, studies have confirmed not only that microscopic pieces of plastic can seed clouds, and sometimes very powerfully, but they also can travel thousands of miles from their source. And there are a lot more of these particles, these microplastics, in the air than scientists originally thought. So microplastics are now creating clouds, which is affecting our weather.
And they're making sunsets beautiful.
And they're making our sunsets gorgeous. In 2019, researchers found microplastics in the Pyrenees that had arrived via rain or snowfall of some kind. So in 2020, Janice Brawny of Utah State University, along with 4 co-authors, published this really high-profile paper in Science, revealing high amounts of plastic in federally protected areas of the United States, which was a big deal because they're like, the only way they're getting here is through the air. Yeah. So Brawny had found the plastic totally by accident. She was looking for phosphorus, but instead was surprised to find all these colorful bits of gunk in these ground-based filters. So she publishes this study, and all of these headlines came out. They were like, it's raining plastic. And it's true. It's literally raining plastic. So when it comes to making clouds, experts are saying these plastic particulates are as good as mineral dust particles in seeding them. And they say that skies heavily polluted with plastic will probably make both more altitude, like high altitude ice clouds, which will tend to warm the Earth's surface, and more low altitude water clouds, which tend to cool the Earth. So this means it's both contributing to global warming and global cooling. But we know...
And it's evening out, so it's totally chill. Totally Everyone turn off the podcast. We're done. We're out.
We fixed climate change with microplastics. Thank you, America. No. Anybody who studied climate change knows that we call it climate change because sometimes climate change patterns involve temporary cooling or cooling of regions that aren't supposed to be that cool. And it doesn't mean that global warming isn't happening. It is. It actually means that this is just creating more fucked up and deranged weather patterns, like, I don't know, like increased hurricane chances or like just foliage not growing right. So you're more likely to encounter weird weather in the process of climate change. Despite an overall pattern of it warming, this sometimes will, yes, mean isolated areas of cooler temperatures as well, which is just as bad.
So it's just like everything's gotten chaotic. This is when, like, where it's like, I know this is not related, but I found it very funny to hear the New Yorkers exclaim at earthquakes.
Oh, yeah. I also thought that was funny.
Like, I was like, oh, charming.
Yeah.
You guys are cute.
Look at you guys, not from California. So, this is a problem, and the cloud thing does tie into water.
Yeah.
So, we're going to use that to segue into the conversation about marine life.
I'm assuming that it's in precipitation from the clouds. Like, as you said, it's raining microplastics, which is at least in part how it's getting into soil, and also a goodish amount of the ways it's getting into the ocean.
Well, this is really interesting. So I'm going to say that the ocean, marine life, the seas, they get the most attention when it comes to microplastics, but that is not the place we should be concerned. Like I've kind of foreshadowed, soil contamination is really the biggest thing we should be concerned about. So we're leading up to the soil contamination, but the water contamination, yeah, it's an issue. And microplastics are getting into the water a lot of different ways. So 9.5 million tons of new plastic waste basically are flowing into the ocean every single year.
And where are they coming from?
They're coming from all sorts of places. So they're coming from road runoff. They're coming from wastewater treatment systems. They're coming through wind transfer. That's the airborne stuff. These are the main sources of this stuff entering. There's this one commonly cited study, which is actually done by the guy who, discovered the giant floating island of trash in the middle of the ocean that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
His last name is Moore. So he was a co-author on this study, and he estimated that there are more than 5.25 trillion plastic pieces floating in the ocean, and together they probably weigh more than 250,000 tons.
Damn.
Yeah. So, these plastics could be primary microplastics, right? the ones that start out as microplastics, or they could be broken down in the water, creating secondary microplastics. Remember, secondary microplastics are the things that break off from larger chunks of plastic, regular plastic.
Yeah.
And then the primary microplastics are the ones that we intentionally make super, super tiny to do all sorts of things, like be in our beauty products or
in industrial production where it's like they were meant to be like made into a larger thing, but they were already small.
Or soil and agrochemicals. We're going to get into that. So, 98% of primary microplastics found in the ocean are generated from land-based activities.
Okay.
So, of those land-based activities, 2% does come from, like, fishing or boating or whatever. Mm-hmm. But 98% comes from land-based activities, and 66% of that comes from the road runoff, 25% comes from wastewater treatment systems, and 7% comes from wind transfer. And there's some other categories on top of that. But this is obviously still causing physical and mechanical harm to marine organisms, right? Because marine organisms, little fish floating around in there, right? They're eating microplastics.
Yeah, I went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium over the weekend. First of all, I gotta say, the tiny jellyfish.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love them.
Really cute.
It's just like, it's like...
I'm too vegan for an aquarium. It always depresses me.
It's just, okay, the tiny jellyfish you gotta love, though. I do feel for the...
I do love them. I want them to be free.
I feel for the hammerhead shark just, like, chilling in, like, a tiny thing or whatever. But it makes you feel the wonder. It's like what people feel with those, like, BBC nature documentaries or whatever, but you see it in person.
I can't watch those. I'm too vegan for them. Something's always eating something. See, this is the thing about it. I'm a lot more vegan than people realize in my day-to-day life.
Earth crisis motherfucker over here.
Yeah, I told you. I had been vegan for 10 years before I allowed myself to listen to Earth Crisis. I was like, you know what? I've been vegan for a decade. I think I'm vegan enough for Earth Crisis.
The fire, whatever, super, whatever. I hate Earth Crisis so bad.
You just have Fresno trauma from Earth Crisis?
I just have normal, I don't have enough cargo shorts for Earth Crisis.
I do. I'm in a cargo short era. I'm really coming into my veganism in my late 30s.
I look forward to the white dreads.
So, the fish are eating the microplastics. And then what happens? They're getting malnourished because they're not eating real food. They're all full of microplastics. Their internal organs getting real abnormal.
They're getting microplastics in their fish lungs.
Yes, they are. They're getting all inflamed.
Yeah.
Fertility going down.
It's in their fish balls.
It's in their fish balls. And death. It's killing them.
Yeah.
It is killing them. So we don't know a lot, but we do know a few very specific things. For example, ultrafine microplastic absorption has been proven to result in complex toxicity in zebrafish.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know what complex toxicity is. I'm assuming it's toxicity that is not simple.
It is. That is accurate. It's just like, basically they're like observing different levels of toxic interactions. They're like, this is poisoning you. And we'll get into some of the ways in other creatures that we know this toxicity occurs. Like, it can be like neurological. Like, it can be, we talked about this actually in the last episode, when we were talking about different parts of the human body, like, potentially being affected. But do you remember when they were talking about, like, the ambulatory issues?
Oh, yeah,
They can't move right. Their brains aren't working. Their cognitive function's bad. They're, like, little paw-eye coordination was bad.
They're
so
not
in the fish, they're
doing presidential debates well.
They're exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We also know that smaller microplastics are more toxic to zooplankton than larger ones. Mm-hmm. So that filter thing we were talking about. Yeah. But we know that all are accumulating in the body.
Yeah, I am assuming none of it's good.
None of it's good. And people, when they talk about the ocean, a thing you're going to hear a lot is you're going to hear people say that the way we do our laundry is affecting the presence of all microfibers in the ocean, natural or synthetic. But this does include, microplastics from synthetic fibers.
So is this the detergents or the fabrics?
Well, there's a couple different ways. Some detergents, depending on where you live and the regulations, will have microplastics in them. But usually what people are talking about is they're talking about your actual fabric shedding microplastics when you're in a wash cycle. Yeah. However, the type of plastic that's used in synthetic clothing production is usually called polyethylene. It's generally not cited as being the microplastics that people are most concerned about in nature on the whole. However, it is more of a concern in marine life, in the ocean, than in other areas. So you remember in the air, we're not really, unless you're working in a cutting factory, the types of microplastics you're inhaling, the fibers aren't really a big part of it. Like you are, but it's not that big of a deal compared to the other ones. You know, when you're talking about soil, which we're going to get into, it hardly factors into soil at all. But the ocean is where it is the biggest problem. And I think that's why people think that if you just don't wear synthetic clothing, you're going to be making this huge difference on the planet. When it's like, well, you'll be making more of a difference to the ocean than you would to the soil. But as we're going to see, ocean contamination is a relatively small piece of the puzzle as well.
However, in true debate bro fashion, the tiny jellyfish.
The tiny jellyfish.
Who is looking out for the tiny jellyfish?
Well, we're going to get into this when we talk about things you can do to help curb your microfiber release. So when it comes to laundering your clothes, this is something that marine experts talk about a lot. You can get a filter put on your washing machine dryer that catches a large amount of this.
Okay.
And then it doesn't go into the marine waterways.
If you're a renter, you're fucked.
No, if you're a renter, you can also wash your clothing in these bags that catch it. There's like these laundry bags you can put your clothes in, and those statistically, we're going to get into the statistics at the bottom of the episode, those are found to catch a lot of these microfibers. And then you can properly dispose of them, which means putting them in a plastic bag and taking it to a dump, which is actually kind of better for the environment than just releasing it into the ocean, for sure, because fish aren't out there eating things. But there are other things out there, so, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
There is also another thing you can do is get this device called a Cora ball. It's like a ball with like a bunch of springy bits that you throw in with your laundry, and it catches a bunch of them too. Same thing, you clean it out and you can more properly dispose of it so it's not entering through waterways into the ocean.
Fair enough.
But the things that people are actually also really concerned about when it comes to waterways is how it re-enters like our houses as drinking water.
Got it.
Water treatment facilities. So microplastics leave human civilization, they enter waterways, and then they come back to us from waterways and end up back in our human body. It's like this microplastic circle of life.
Oh, wait. Okay. I'm sorry. I've been Mr. Derail the topic today.
Yeah.
I sent you that picture of the vibe, the ingredients list on the energy drink that had LA vibes.
It did have LA vibes as an ingredient, and I was very embarrassed.
But one of the other ingredients right next to LA vibes was 100% pure California water, and I was like, straight from the LA River.
Yeah, we are not known for having great water. In my neighborhood especially.
Yeah, no.
My neighborhood has some of the water smells coming out of the pipes here.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, man. I get my water at the grocery store. I'm not trying to drink East Hollywood water.
I mean, we have an under-sink intense filtration system that filters our water, and that does work very well. But my boyfriend is adamant that we need a whole house filtration system that takes up like half the garage because the water is horrifying here.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad. So basically, microplastics can re-enter your life as a human being when they come into your human body when they're not filtered out during water sewage treatment processes. So this is, like I called it like cyber dystopian Lion King in my notes because it's like the circle of
death.
Life. Yeah, of death, of microplastic death. So according to research conducted by the Ministry of Environment in Korea in 2017, a mean concentration of 1 microplastic piece per 20 liters of liquid was detected in 24 different water treatment plants. Mm-hmm. So this might not sound like a lot, but the average person is supposed to drink between 3 and 4 liters of water a day, which is between 1,080 to 1,440 liters per year. And that means that each person could be prone to potentially ingesting up to 72 pieces of microplastic per year just from drinking water alone.
Damn.
Yeah, and the majority of these microplastics, 49%, come from one place in particular. Can you guess what it is?
No, where is it?
Paint particles.
From the road or from houses?
All of the above.
Yeah, okay.
All of the above. So, when we're talking about the water, when we're looking at our water treatment facilities, paint is the biggest thing. And I never would have thought paint is the leading contributor to us drinking microplastics.
What was it? Oh, shit. Ad Reinhardt, that, avant-garde painter who did all the black paintings.
Yes.
He was really, really famous for saying that he made the last paintings that ever should exist. And maybe he was right. Maybe he was just he was really avant-garde and he was like...
Microplastics in paint is 49% of the paint you're drinking or the microplastics you're drinking in your water coming from paint.
No one do paint anymore.
No one do painting. The next most significant source, 19.6%, came from styrofoam.
This is the breaking off the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, we finally are leading up to soil. Soil's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Soil is the one I feel like I'm losing my mind fighting with people on the internet because people just... I feel like the water microplastic team has better marketing, has better branding.
Well, cotton is the fabric of our lives.
Cotton is the fabric of our lives. I think they're working with Big Cotton to kind of spread information and be like, and don't get me wrong, I don't want there to be a trash island in the middle of the ocean. I don't want the fish to be eating microplastics.
You just also don't want there to be a trash island in the middle of the San Joaquin Valley.
I also would prefer, not to have that. I don't want the cotton trash island right on the soil. So, the thing about the soil, the soil, it turns out, is really the thing you need to be worried about.
And it's all the soil.
It's all the soil. So one research study done on 100 different sites in South Korea included forests, suburbs, and agricultural lands. They found 700 pieces of microplastic for every kilogram of soil. So for us Americans, that's roughly 318 pieces of microplastic per pound of dirt. And this might shock you, but the dirt that was most full of plastics was the agricultural land, especially in orchards.
That doesn't shock me at all. Has anyone have people not been to farms?
I don't think people understand farming. I barely understand farming, and then I talk to people on the internet, and I'm like, holy shit, I know a lot more about farming than you, and I know, like, nothing about farming.
No, I feel like, I've never worked on a farm. I've been on enough farms in my life to where I'm like, well, there's just, like, a lot of plastic around here. And also,
chemicals.
And also, everything is chemicals.
Everything.
Right, like... This is not...
I mean, the closest I got to working on a farm was that time my boyfriend owed a drug dealer money, and the drug dealer was a hippie because it was Santa Cruz, so we said that we could work it off by babysitting his kids. And then the boyfriend had to work a shift because he worked at a restaurant service industry, and it was at night, so I was like, I'll go babysit the kids to pay off my boyfriend's drug debt. And I went to babysit the kids, and they lived on, like, this little miniature subsistence farm in Santa Cruz, and the kids... This is where I went, and I wasn't allowed to give the kids any rules. I was only allowed to explain to them the potential consequences of their actions. And the kids all made me dinner. They were, like, really young, like 5 and 8. And then there was, like, a babe, like 2, 5 and 8, 3, 5 and 8, something like that. And they cooked me dinner with food they got from their little mini farm garden themselves.
Yeah.
That's the closest I came to working on a farm.
I'm just realizing I have worked on a farm in Big Sur.
Oh.
Do you not remember this?
I do remember.
This was weird.
It was a weird situation.
That was I balanced a tractor on the side of a cliff with my body.
Yes, you did.
That was
while going through a breakup.
It was while we were both there.
Yes.
I had to go tell my girlfriend at the time, look out the window. I'm in the scoop of a tractor trying to balance it on the side of a cliff. I need you to witness this for the lawsuit.
Yes. Very, very smart.
Yeah.
Very, very smart. And then you broke up.
Yes.
Shortly thereafter. Yes. Okay, well, the reason, for those of you who know somehow even less about farming than me and David, and we don't know much.
Nothing.
Is that a major source of microplastics is fertilizer compounds used in agriculture. And other types of agrochemicals, pesticides as well.
This is the Miracle Grow type shit, but
Exactly.
like on an industrial scale.
Yes. So microplastics are deliberately added to pesticides and fertilizers. Primary microplastics. Remember, when we're like, they make them really small for things. Well, a big thing they're making them really small for, pesticides and fertilizers. And this is to allow for a controlled release of chemicals or nutrients in the product. They're like, it's like the difference between taking like time release Adderall or like the instant Adderall.
It's like the ones in like the fancy cap.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not getting the pressed pills here for your agrochemicals. You're getting the little capsules with the time release. You're getting the blue, not the orange. I'm pretty sure. That's how it goes.
The blue pill versus, I don't know.
I
got
the
nothing.
blue is the time release on the Adderall, and the orange is the instant, if I'm remembering correctly. But I might have this wrong because
you don't take Adderall.
I don't mean to brag or anything, but I am unmedicated. I'm just out here fucking raw dogging life, all right? I don't know how advisable it is. I just have a hard time answering the phone every time the psychiatrist calls to finalize the Adderall prescription.
But you're having a great time hyperfixating on one topic per week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What if I get on Adderall and then the podcast goes kaput?
That sounds likely.
Likely.
I'm going to, anytime you try to, properly medicate for your health...
You're going to sabotage me?
I'm just going to sabotage you. Yeah.
Love that. So... Microplastics, getting deliberately added to all these agrochemicals. One report explained this and said agriculture is undoubtedly one of the main anthropogenic activities responsible for microplastic pollution in the soil. Nutrien alone claims to produce over 400,000 tons of polymer-coated fertilizer annually. Another manufacturer is like, we're making 200,000 tons. A third manufacturer is like, we're making 1.7 million tons per year. So, like, we're making a lot of these chemicals that all, contain microplastics, these pesticides, these fertilizers, whatever. So this organization called ECHA describes the fertilizer and pesticide sectors as a source of, quote, direct and unfiltered emissions of microplastics. And they say that the agricultural sector is the largest single user of microplastics in the world, accounting for 46% of all intentionally added microplastics in one region surveyed. And because these microplastics are released directly into the environment, agricultural microplastics account for, and this is major, more than 65% of all intentionally added microchemicals environmentally released every single year. In the world. Anywhere.
Okay.
Anywhere in the world. In soil, in water,
so
65%
obviously,
of intentionally added microchemicals environmentally released every year are coming from agriculture.
Obviously, the word intentional, is gonna, perk some ears up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, well, what's the unintentional proportion?
That would be unintentional, for example.
No, it's from your clothes and
or
laundry.
The package fell off the roof of your car and it accidentally became litter, and then the litter broke down.
But
and
I'm trying to
waterway.
what's the proportion here? Because that's 65% of intentionally.
Well, the majority of the issues we're having with microplastics are coming from
intentional shit.
I mean, intentional stuff. Yeah, just average, or they're coming from industrial sectors.
Yeah.
So just the average consumer shedding microplastics here and there.
I'm shedding microplastics all the time. I make a habit of it.
Yeah, it's not as much of an issue as industrial agriculture, not just agriculture, industrial elements alone, and agriculture in particular. And when we get into what you can actually do to curb your microplastic consumption, we're going to hear more about this kind of stuff. But the Center for International Environmental Law reported, and they said, despite receiving little public attention to date, the agricultural sector is one of the most significant users of intentionally added microplastics. And they said the deliberate dispersions of microplastics in the environment through the application of plastic-coated fertilizers and pesticides is one of the most direct and preventable sources of growing microplastic pollution in agricultural soils. So remember, this is what you have to know about the percent of intentionally or unintentionally. When we're looking at soils, they're far more full of microplastics than the air or water.
And that is
way more of an issue. Well, we're going to start off just by saying the most of the bulk of microplastics, if you're comparing water, air, or soil, it's in soil.
Yeah.
And most of the microplastics ending up in soil are intentionally added by the agricultural sector.
Yeah.
So, out of the biggest problem is intentionally added from...
I'm assuming some of it is precipitation, which also contains microplastics because our clouds are full of microplastics.
I mean, yeah, it's not 100%.
And people drop their soda bottles on the side of a farm road.
Right. Those could be unintentionally added microplastics to agriculture. But basically, all of these environmentalists are no, the biggest issue here is the agricultural sector using this shit. So they say the use of plastic-coated synthetic fertilizers and pesticides is rising, with producers marketing their controlled release function as a key to sustainable climate-friendly agriculture. And this is when we think about greenwashing, they're like, you want sustainable climate-friendly agriculture? Release all these microplastics into your soil. And then it's now from here we know it's affecting the weather patterns, it's affecting the climate, and it's you're not solving the issue of climate-friendly blah, blah, blah. You're releasing something into the environment that causes climate issues, that changes the climate.
The farm I did work on was organic, but truly organic. And one of the things I think about a lot with the greenwashing thing is the degree to which, so he was trying to get organic certification for his produce or whatever, and it was a huge ass rigmarole. But these large manufacturers, in order to do it at an industrial scale that would justify getting the certification, right? They have to do the kind of weird fertilizer that is premised off of time release
Yes.
Organic. Does it? You're seeing the.
Well, what we're going to get into here, this is interesting. So, some reports have found that microplastic concentrations have been found to increase at higher rates in soils that are amended with either organic or inorganic fertilizer.
Oh, okay.
So, between 1966 and 2022, these studies were done, and they're like, even these organic fertilizers, it's still leading to an increase in microplastics in the environment. So, this suggests that agricultural fertilizers are like a huge contributor to microplastic concentrations in agricultural soils over time. And, we run into a lot of issues with what's organic.
Yeah.
A lot of how we define what's organic is political.
No, I learned from every organic farmer I've known who's either been schmuck or a shyster. Right? Like, this is like where it's like either you're like conning someone or you're getting conned by the system. Like, I'm like, I don't know, this seems dumb. Like, the organic, like, I'm like, if I know the person who grew it, and they grew it in their garden. And
you trust them.
And I trust them.
Yeah.
Then I'll be like, cool, that's organic. Everything else is bullshit.
Yeah, there's so much just, like, scamming in society in general. So, in agricultural soils, also on top of this, microplastics have actually been shown to negatively impact crop quality in terms of yield, also in terms of the physical, chemical, and biological properties of the crops and the soil over a long period of time. But the reason why people use them so much is that short-term analysis paints a totally different picture. Mm-hmm. So long-term, it's ruining everything.
Yeah.
Short-term, though, there's immediate benefits, like increased crop yield and quality, early and late season production, resource use efficiency, especially when it comes to yield-limiting conditions. So it's like, at first, you're going to get all these awesome results, but over time, it's actually going to fucking ruin everything.
Are you saying that large-scale capitalist production tends to privilege efficiency and profits over long-term sustainability?
I know, it's
shocking.
Are
you saying that? Madeline,
know.
what is this an anti-capitalist podcast?
I consider myself a centrist.
Okay.
I'm just telling it like it is. Okay,
I am getting the sense that this is an anti-quarterly profits position that you're staking out, and
real talk though, I do actually enjoy saying the most left-wing shit I can possibly think of, like quoting Marx directly to strangers and then telling them I'm a centrist, because I think it really fucks up their idea about what the center should be. I think that's a fun rhetorical strategy.
In like 2016, everyone talked about the Overton window. Do you remember when I'm trying
to shift the Overton window so that Marxism is a centrist ideology.
That's not going to happen.
I think it is. It works sometimes. You can get people on your side. I invite you all to try that strategy. Hey, I'm a centrist. I hate the Democrats and Republicans alike. Let me quote Marx at you and act like I just came up with it. How do you feel about this? And most people are like, yeah.
Sometimes I quote at great length the passages of Capital where he's just describing the conditions of lace workers in 19th century England.
I don't think you're quoting Marx right. I don't think that's converting
people don't
anybody.
like it.
They're not. I think it's a little boring. Yeah, you gotta be pithy. You gotta do his pithy or bitchier parts. You know Marx was bitchy.
Yeah, I know, but I like the part, like, I think that's the exciting stuff, the lace workers.
Yes.
And also the thing with the bread, where they were putting, like cement or some shit, or, like, weird stuff in the bread to make the bread last longer for poor people.
That's basically what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're doing 21st century that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this one report explained this, and they said plastic use is crucial to maintaining the food security and productivity in many regions. The use of plastics is deeply embedded in global agricultural systems and is likely to increase in the future due to population increase, stricter resource and agrochemical regulations, as well as the observed and expected impacts of climate change. Removing plastics from agriculture may have severe repercussions for agroecosystems, global food security, and greenhouse gas emissions, compromising human and planetary health. So basically, they're like, the agricultural sector has no motivations to remove microplastics.
Well, it's not profitable.
It's not profitable, and they're like, it's going to make farming way harder. Why would we do that? So this doesn't even touch on growing non-food crops like cotton, tea, coffee, and tobacco. Right? They're just talking about food.
Oh, I eat my tobacco.
Oh, do you? You just chew it up? I'm not a smoker, so I don't know what you guys are doing. I know there's been a lot of nicotine developments lately.
Oh, yeah, no, someone tried, because, I've been intermittently trying to quit smoking, and someone tried to recommend Zim pouches to me, which is like you just put a pouch of tobacco in your mouth, and that doesn't seem good.
Is that like chewing tobacco?
No, but it's like you just like it
like a tea bag.
Yeah,
in your mouth,
and it just like soaks in your mouth, and that seems, I'm gonna say, bad, and also I don't think any cool guy in the 1960s or 50s, Montgomery Clift is not putting Zim pouches in his mouth.
I'm kind of interested in the Zim pouch.
What
if this is my entry point to tobacco?
You at 38 are going to become nicotine addicted.
Well, I'm 37. I got a few months. I could really slide it in. I got 1 month.
Few is liberal.
I got 1 month. I got 1 month and 15 days. I can just sneak it in there.
Okay.
I could enter 38 already with a nicotine habit if I play my cards right, is what I'm saying.
I feel like, I think this is the move I've been thinking about. Someone should get addicted on patches.
Oh, I actually know people this has happened to.
No.
But yeah, they didn't start with the patches. But then they moved into the patches, and they're like, "No, I'm just."
No, I think someone should start with the patches.
Oh, I think do that one too. I'm really a blank canvas for tobacco abuse.
I think, or like the quitting gum, like Nicorette.
Yeah.
I think someone should.
What if I get started on Nicorette?
I think you should. I'm gonna say, I know the difference in taste. You should get started on the CVS.
Okay. I had one puff of a cigarette. I was 13.
Wasn't punk.
It was so long ago. It was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It's basically like I've had none.
Yeah, the sweet taste of tobacco I've never known its
luster. Yeah. So in the European Economic Area alone, they call this the EEA, 36,000 tons of microplastics are introduced into the environment through agrochemicals every year. Again, this accounts for more than 65% of microplastics intentionally added to the environment in that region. And again, like I said, we talk about microplastics a lot in the ocean, but it turns out that concentrations of plastic pollution are many times greater in the soils than in the seas. So microplastic pollution is estimated, this is wild, to be 4 to 23 times greater in terrestrial soil than in marine environments.
This honestly makes kind of intuitive sense to me. Just like the ocean's really big.
Yeah.
People are proportionally not there a lot.
They're not there a lot. They're on land more. Yeah, it does make sense.
It was just
we're fucking up the land a lot more than the ocean. I mean, the ocean, it's not like we don't care about it. We care about the ocean, but it's like in terms of priority here.
No, I've been recently quite animated over the weird tech bros wanting to mine cobalt from the deep sea or whatever.
I think that the weird tech bros should just really go investigate what's happening in the deep sea. I think we should send them all there.
And tin can ass submarines.
I think get them down there. Get them real deep in there. High pressure situation, quite literally.
It could be one of those Jacques Cousteau-ass things that's connected to the boat up top, but then we're on the boat up top.
And then we get to look down, and then we just cut the little cord connecting it and wave at them as they sink into the depths.
This is the sociopathic imagination that I feel like your TikTok audience doesn't often get to see. Right.
Real class rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole episode, I'm like, get punched in the face and 10 crows to the sea to die. I'm a centrist, first of all, and fuck the oceans. No, I don't actually. None of this.
Fuck the tiny jellyfish.
The oceans.
Madeline hates the tiny jellyfish.
No, I am just too vegan to go watch them be in an enclosed environment.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I want them to be beautiful and free. So, this whole, soil thing, I think the best visualization of it is these disturbing images that have started surfacing in canyons after flooding that shows that flood levels are now recorded in sediment with microplastics embedded in the walls of the rock for the levels reached during our lifetimes. So, you look at the Grand Canyon, you're like, oh, it's been carved over time, it's beautiful. Our generation's lines of carving over time are just going to be full of microplastics.
Oh, wait, this is why, people are calling it the plasticine or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
You can literally see it in the earth.
I took the Surfliner back.
It's fun.
It's really beautiful. It's beautiful. The scheduling
It's
nightmare.
A train that goes along the coastline in California, for anybody who doesn't know.
It's the closest you can get to the California coast.
Yeah. On the train.
While moving.
It's great.
And there are places where you can imagine briefly for minutes at a time what it would be like to live before, like, industrial type things.
Yes.
Because you're, like, looking at a landscape that has nothing man-made on it.
Except for you, the train.
Except for you, the train. But if you, like, cut that out of your vision...
Right.
You can imagine...
You're just moving abnormally very, very quickly.
Or slow. The train was slow.
Oh, okay.
But, like... In future generations, that will not... They'll just be like, all we see is plastic.
All we see is plastic, yes. So now we get into the category here. Well, okay, by this point, you probably understand my exasperation when people on the internet are like, but when you wash your clothes, it releases microplastics into the ocean. I'm like, when you use cotton, it has released so many fucking tons of microplastic into the soil, and the soil is so much more full of microplastics than the ocean. I care about the ocean, but using cotton instead is not exactly doing anyone any favors. You're actually doing more harm to the environment with microplastic additions when you are buying crops that are grown with these fertilizers that are full of microplastics. So anybody listening now, you understand why I'm just screaming into the void at my phone, and my doctor tested me twice for HIV because my stress levels are so high.
Debate bros. You have an ecosystem of debate bros of all genders.
Most debate bros do some research. I think what I have is an ecosystem of people who saw a YouTube video once or a TikTok once and have decided that makes them an expert, and then spreads
research
infographics full of fake bullshit.
Okay, I'm not saying they did good research.
It's not even research. It's one they saw a video in passing, and like what blows my mind is people so confidently talking about shit they have no fucking clue about. Because there's shit I have no fucking clue about. No, I'm not making videos like I'm an expert on it. I don't understand that.
The only thing I'm qualified to talk about is Stuart Hall. This is like, I got nothing.
I'm trying to think of things. It's not like I'm like, let me tell you how to perfectly cook a steak. Like, I
bet you'd cook it because you wouldn't like it so much you'd want it off the grill.
Oh, ew, God.
It would be very rare.
Steak. But you know what I mean? I'm not just like, here's how you cook a steak,
would you put the butter
sweaty.
in the pan with the thyme and...
Do you put butter in the pan when you make it? I can't even eat butter.
You put with the thyme and the garlic, and then you baste...
Oh,
I don't really cook steak.
Disgusting.
It's not like... I've dated people where it's like, oh, this is the thing that I do to impress them now because that's what they ask for.
They ask you to make them a steak?
Yeah, it happens.
Modern dating makes no sense to me.
This is why every time you're like, I love dating, I'm like, I feel like you've been
I'm not asking people to make me steaks. Maybe I'm having a good time dating because everyone out there is like, thank God you're not asking me to make you a steak.
I feel like you've been out of the game for a while. Like, I just like...
So you're saying I need to get back on the apps for science?
I know you have the put me in coach look in your eyes.
I mean, I think I could really have a good time dating. I think I'm good at dating. I think I liked it. I think I had fun. I think there are two types of people. There are people who are afraid of dating. They hate it. It's torturous to them. And there are people who enjoy it. And I think the people who enjoy it generally have a better time.
I think there are two types of people in this world. People who rely upon overly simple dichotomies and types of people. And people who have nuanced understandings of the world. Which type are you?
I'm definitely the first one, and so are you. We both are the first one, but I think that makes life easier to understand and manage.
I do think that's true.
You know, you need to manage your expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes. So, what can we do about the microplastics?
Never wash your clothes.
Well, like most problems in life, productive change occurs at a legislative and governmental level. This is what I'm talking about. Get mad at your governments, people.
Yell at content creators more on TikTok, Instagram.
Try to give me a heart attack at age 38.
What's the one with the video games?
Twitch.
Yell at content creators on Twitch about this.
Be sure not to research anything and just go off of something you think you heard once and be really confident about it.
Do that.
And when they tell you, a lake was destroyed where I live from this, I know what I'm talking about, tell them they're wrong.
Wait, which lake?
Tulare Lake was destroyed by cotton production. Do you not remember Larry from Tulare? Your friend Ryan dated him?
Oh, I do remember. Yeah,
Larry from Tulare.
Sweet guy.
Yeah, nice guy. So, changing individual behaviors and governmental actions, such as implementing bans, taxes, or pricing on plastic carrier bags, these things do significantly reduce plastic consumption. Like, in some places, it'll only reduce it, like, 8%. Other places, though, because there's been more of an emphasis on governmental action, it's reduced it 85%.
I'm curious. Okay, so I've heard here. You're just gonna help me debunk some shit that I hear.
Okay.
Because I am also subject to the same miasma of misinformation.
Okay.
The plastic bag thing, right? Like, now you have to bring your own bags, or you
Yeah.
pay the 25 cents. But now all the bags are of that like super thick ass plastic because
That's still plastic, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it's no longer the super flimsy plastic you
Yeah.
used to get, because now it's classified as some sort of reusable bag.
Right.
Right. Which is not, but like 25 cents.
Yeah.
Those plastic bags, worse. Just bring your own bag, right?
I think bringing your own bag is better. Reusing a bag is better than just getting disposable. I think single-use plastic is bad.
Yeah, don't do that.
The more you can use single-use plastic items, it's good. However, the more often you are reusing these plastic items that are supposed to be single-use, the more you are exposing yourself to potential microplastic contamination. Hence the things like, okay, so a good example of this. One of my friends works in the restaurant industry. Mm-hmm. And when you work in the restaurant industry, you're just surrounded by a specific type of plastic container that food and beverage is stored in.
It's the I know, the like cylindrical things.
The cylindrical things that any server has millions of these in their house. These are technically not single-use plastic items. Technically, you should be able to microwave things in them. They are also not the most sturdy plastic items, and they do break down. You can see when people use them a lot, they start to warp, they start to bend. This is, I'm guessing, based on data we'll get into later, probably a huge source of microplastic contamination. So you want to reuse them so they're not just single-use plastic getting thrown away, but the more you reuse them, the more you are prone to bits of plastic breaking off, becoming microplastics, and you ingesting them. So it's this like trade-off, really. So I think the best thing you could do is, like, for example, with that, not use plastics. Like, if you're using like a tote bag instead of a single-use plastic bag, and
I
you're
know
bringing
how much
a tote
you love
bag.
Tote bag people.
It's not the tote bag's fault that they're attached to a certain type of person so often. But if you're using like one bag over and over and over again, that's probably fine. And especially because we know that the fibers that are associated with like a fiber bag are less of an issue than like the type associated with packaging materials.
You should get it from like an industrial farm organic cotton type thing, and then buy like lots of them over and over, and then like throw them out after each use because they're dirty now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's like probably the best thing you could do is be one of those hippies that goes to the food co-op and all your food just gets packaged inside of like glass containers.
Or you go to the cafe. You bring your mug.
You bring your mug. You bring
your
David's mug, which may or may not be violating health code. If you work in a cafe, let me know if that is a thing, or if I made that up in my head, because I do not work in a cafe, and I have never done food service. I've done retail.
If you bring like if you bring like a travel mug with like a screw.
Yeah, I'm told you can't pass things back and forth like that over the counter. My friends have told me this is not allowed.
But they will make you unscrew the lid,
okay.
right? And then like that. Or whatever, like that's a thing that's happened where they'll be like, I can't touch the fucking lid, man. Like you gotta do that.
Okay, I see. Okay. So there are two different types of regulations that can be implemented. There's direct regulations, like banning the use of microplastic in emission sources, or there's indirect regulations, like restricting the use of single-use or disposable plastic and encouraging the collection and recycling of plastics. So different countries have taken different measures. Like South Korea, we talked about a lot. We read some reports from South Korea. The South Korean government has begun to establish and promote plastic waste management measures that would promote the effective management of microplastics. So remember when we were like, well, if you're concerned about microplastics in your washing machine, throw in the Cora ball, wash your clothes in the bag.
Or never wash your clothes.
And then, but like, what if you do the Cora ball or the bag, you collect everything from it afterwards and you dispose of it in a sealed container that's taken to a dump, or it's like, this is where we're putting our trash.
Thrown directly into the Pacific Ocean.
You take it on your boat. Yacht, you take it out on your yacht because you're rich, and then you dump into the ocean yourself, and you go, bye-bye, trash island.
And then you take one of those, like, things that's used to hold 6 packs of beer together, and you just, like, trail it out your boat for a little while.
Trying to catch 6 fish's heads in it and maybe a turtle or something.
Yeah, and then you release it just so they float.
And you see a beautiful whale or dolphin, and you just shoot it.
And then you look at the toxic plastic sunset.
Yes, and you're like, this is a beautiful color.
I love this.
America. Yes. So, The Korean Ministry of Environment prepared this like comprehensive plan for recycling microplastic waste in 2018, and a different plan for managing microplastics in 2019. And the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries prepared this plan for reducing marine plastics also in 2019. They've also done things like make microbeads prohibited for use domestically in South Korea. And as of 2021, they introduced new regulations regarding microplastics in household chemicals like cleaning solutions, deodorizers, laundry detergents, and fabric softeners. Now, you know, if you remember from our first episode, this all sounds great, but like, do you remember like beauty industry use of microplastics was like less than 1% or something of all microplastic use?
Yeah, I mean, I think, right, the main thing is, like, any individual thing you can do is, like, probably good.
It's probably better than doing nothing.
It's probably not the thing.
It's not the thing. Also, it's like Taiwan 2020. They're like, we're banning microbeads in cosmetic products. And you're like, that is such a minuscule issue when we're talking about the sources of microplastics in the world. Like, in the United States, we also banned the intentional use of primary microplastics in cleaning products. But you're like, household cleaning product microplastic use was never the biggest thing affecting microplastic use. Like, we need to go after industrial farming, and the United States won't do that. Like, different states have passed laws. Like, 2014, Illinois banned the use of microbeads in personal care products, like beauty care products, again. But, again, we know it's, like, less than 1% or something. 2015, California, New Jersey, and New York all banned microbeads in cosmetic products as well. But, again, it's like, we live in California. There's agriculture happening here.
Yeah.
We are so full of agriculture-based microplastics, and they're like, you can't have it in your exfoliators anymore. And you're like, this is not the biggest issue happening here. But it's like these empty kind of gestures at legislation that don't actually affect capital in a meaningful way. Other places have also done, like, banning the microbeads and exfoliators and cleansers that you use for, like, your body, like Canada or the United Kingdom or New Zealand. The EU has done some things too, like they adopted this thing called like the European Plastic Strategy in January 2018. This included promoting increased recycling of plastic products and a reduction of plastic waste. And we do know that like some places where they implement better recycling measures, like the United States has like garbage recycling measures.
Literally garbage.
Yeah. We just throw it in the garbage. And we did an episode with Kenna a while ago about trash that talks about this in detail. So if you want to go back and find that, I think it's called Garbage Gravy.
That sounds delicious.
We talk more about the trash island thing. We talk about the garbage. So it goes into a lot about like our trash management and recycling. I think it's a really interesting episode. And if you're done with this and you want to hear more and you haven't gone through our back catalog, I think that's a good like companion episode for this one. But yeah, you know, mostly I feel like people are tackling these really minor things that aren't that big of an issue. And when I say it was less than 1%, it was 0.01% of plastic use in the world that comes from personal care products and beauty products.
Wait, are you saying that people are finding places in which they can have a mostly imagined sense of agency and then substituting that for real political or structural change?
I'm saying politicians are doing grand gestures without affecting the bottom line.
Okay.
Yeah. So, personal steps then. If you're like, my government is failing, is there anything I can do to like, I don't know, minimize my body's exposure to microplastics and the microplastics I'm dumping into the environment? The number one best thing you can do to minimize your body's exposure to microplastics, do you know what it is?
Look out for Madeline's new skincare and personal health line, available at moop.com.
Microplastic block. No, it's to not eat seafood.
You're telling me no more sushi?
Well, here you go. There's specific seafood that's better and worse. So the results of most previous studies show that ingestion was one of the main routes of microplastic exposure in humans. We know inhalation is also a source of that. But basically, we're eating a lot of microplastics. We know that. So new data is like maybe we're inhaling more than we're eating, but we know inhaling and eating go hand in hand together. And there is more research on the eating of microplastics just because people previously were convinced that was the main way. Now there's a little more debate. So one more recent research report said, point blank, exposure to microplastics through food intake is likely the main exposure source, although it remains difficult to provide a detailed estimate due to the lack of research on the contents and internal doses of microplastics in different foods. So they're like, probably even knowing now that we're inhaling a lot of microplastics, we're still probably getting the bulk of them in our body by eating them, but it's hard for us to know because it's hard for us to measure all the foods people are eating.
Okay, so I want you to give me a detailed list of the fish that I can and cannot eat.
Oh, I'm about to, my friend.
So that I can tailor my sushi order accordingly.
Okay, I'm ready. I got you. So, I'm going to give you a little statistic first so you know what level of microplastic ingestion we're talking about, and then we're going to get into the specific fish.
I want you
all
to
you non-vegans out there.
I want to hear that herring is basically just a Lego and everything else is good.
I can't tell you that. I'm so sorry. Okay. So, according to food consumption alone, the intake of plastic particles in the human body would be between 39,000 to 52,000 particles per person per year.
Okay.
It's a lot. It's not great. That amounts to 5 grams of microplastic particles each week on average, which means the average person is eating the equivalent of a credit card's worth of plastic every week.
Well, I do that anyway.
You're just munching on credit cards?
Anytime I max out my credit cards, and then I eat them, and then I sign up for a new one.
So I'm talking about Crimes of the Future, the movie, if nobody's watched it.
I have not seen Crimes of the Future.
It's good. It's good. It's all about this. So, yeah. So, your body is then, again, we're going to say expelling. That's a nice way of saying shit now.
Yeah.
You're expelling.
So maybe you're peeing.
I mean, I think you're shitting it.
You don't think you're peeing a little bit?
I think you might be peeing a little bit, but I think you're shitting it.
I don't know if you haven't seen the way I pee.
I have not. That is accurate. So, you're shitting or pissing 90% of that credit card out. But then look at the credit card and imagine 10% of it. That's still sitting in there every week.
It's like the little chip that you use to tap.
Is that the 10%? You got one of those every week just floating around your body?
Yeah.
That's pretty significant. This visualization exercise was harrowing for me. So, where are you getting them? Seafood's a serious place to consider. So we're going to break down the seafood into sections here based on some data I found.
It's herring and trout. That's all it is, right?
No. Okay, so for all you seafood eaters out there, all you non-vegans, all you butter in the pan to baste the steak, is that real?
I don't eat steak a lot.
Well,
I know how to do it.
Let's talk about it. First thing we're going to talk about is bivalves. These would be oysters, mussels, scallops, clams. Hey, if you're a Segan eating bivalves, I got some bad news for you.
What the fuck is a Segan?
It's a vegan who eats bivalves. It's a Segan. You never met a Segan?
Do you not? Okay, I feel this is like a stereotype or whatever, but it holds true. Every like sort of linen type coated woman in Silver Lake has a copy of Cosmicomics on her bedside table.
I heard this is Lenin, not linen.
No, like linen, like the fabric.
Like the fabric, not like Lenin.
Like the specific like Erewhon type Silver Lake.
Yes.
Ladies.
Yes.
Has a copy of Cosmicomics on her bedside table. And an Erewhon mason jar in her
what's
cabinet.
Cosmicomics? What is that?
It's an Italo Calvino thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And it has the love story between the mollusks.
Yeah, I was literally picturing a comic book for some reason. I forgot about Calvino.
It's but like, it is, you know, I was just talking about it, it is, I didn't know a love story between two mollusks could make you tear up.
Oh, I mean, I like Calvino. I know but it's cute. It's sentimental. It's nice. So yeah, these would be oysters, mussels, scallops, and clams. And the reason these are one of the biggest things you got to look out for is because they're generally eaten whole. You're not removing the intestines. You're eating what they're eating, right? Oh God, I'm so sorry. Eating meat is really creepy. I don't think about it, and then I'm like, you're eating what they're eating because they're a living thing and they're eating things, and then you're eating it.
And I'm also a living thing. They're eating living things.
You're eating the living. It's really freaky.
I am a part of the food chain.
You never think about this, or do you think about it and you're like, it's cool?
No, I've told you the stories about going to like the weird Satan shit in also Olympia.
Yeah.
Or you see the animals die.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
And
I don't want the animals to die.
I mean,
I had to watch MoDog die, and it was the worst day of my life.
I'm not saying
second worst day of my life.
I'm not. How do I put this? MoDog should never have died.
No, she was supposed to live forever.
Is a goddess.
Yes, she lives on.
Who I assume hovers above us in the afterlife as like a sort of patron. Mm-hmm. Dachshund saint. With
her beauty, her grace, her judgment, her silent judgment.
I'm specifically thinking, for some reason in my head, MoDog has regained her sort of like Bay Area spriteness.
Yeah, her youth. Yeah. No, in my head, she's always old.
Okay.
Her face is gray, you know?
But it's like the sprite, there's a line in Proust where it's like the grandmother dies and it's like, my grandmother died, and I looked at her resting body with somehow with the face of a young woman.
That's MODOK.
And that's MODOK.
Okay, I like it.
But no, I mean, I'm not here's the thing. I don't try to eat animals a lot. I don't eat them at home 90% of the time.
Okay.
Because I'm just like, I don't.
So you got to catch a bird outside your window. It's a little tricky.
Yeah, so I think my next door neighbor across the way and I might try to set up some sort of net business.
I know people who have hunting practices and I'm like, this makes sense to me. I'm not opposed to it. You do you. For me personally, whoa, that's weird.
But no,
But everybody has a different relationship. I'm not judgmental about it.
I think, there's...
I did an episode on PETA. You guys know my thoughts on being vegan.
I'm going to say, there's a difference. I think it's Nietzsche or someone makes a distinction between cruelty and brutality. And cruelty is this, sort of identification that you have with your victim, right? So, you see the victim's pain, you enjoy the victim's pain because you understand the victim's pain as, the subjective experience of pain, as opposed to brutality, which is just, stumbling around hurting things.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Right? I think another distinction should be made where it's sort of I don't know how to explain it. I don't have, an ethical way of describing eating an animal other than it's a part of the cycle of life.
I think that for some people it's also a cultural practice or a spiritual practice that I think there's...
Yeah, I mean, I think, right, it's obviously a part of my cultural practice, weird post-industrial late capitalist cultural practice. I'm not saying that's great. I think you try to do it in a way that isn't about creating crazy amounts of pain to no end.
Well, I mean, that's kind of when we did the PETA episode, that's kind of what PETA's all about, which is weird. They're just I don't know, make them suffer not as much, please.
But they go weird on that.
They're weird. PETA's weird. PETA's interesting. PETA's interesting and weird. Their legislative arm, though.
Great.
Excellent.
If they were
Excellent. They're passing laws that are good.
If they were not kidnapping poor girls' chihuahuas.
Yes.
And then euthanizing them.
We might have more sympathy for PETA. Yeah. So... according to one regional study, nearly 1 piece of microplastics was consumed for every 2 grams of seafood in general consumed. The average size oyster or clam is 14 grams. So that means eating 1 clam or oyster would expose you to 7 pieces of microplastics alone.
Wasn't there a thing? I feel like maybe I saw this on social media and not credible or whatever, but it was a thing about a bunch of people in Southern California getting sick from eating oysters. Recently.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, you weren't on Oyster Talk.
No, I'm not on Oyster Talk. No. I may have mentioned I'm vegan. I've never mentioned being vegan as much as I have in this episode. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry, guys. I'm feeling
you're gonna do some floor punches, put on your cargo
shorts. Christ. We started out talking about hardcore. That's what really got me into it. Okay, so the next step on this list is crustacean. So by crustaceans, we're talking about things like shrimp, prawns, crab, lobster. Roughly 3 pieces of microplastic per gram, and that means based on average weights, you're probably eating 1 piece of microplastic for every 3 pieces of popcorn shrimp.
Wait, go back again?
So for every 3 pieces of popcorn shrimp, you're getting 1 piece of microplastic.
That's the size of the little bit of the credit card?
Yeah, that's not so bad.
Oh, I had a really nice shrimp pasta thing at a restaurant over the weekend.
How many little popcorn shrimps do you think were in there?
There was half a dozen.
All right, so you're getting 2 pieces of microplastics. Not so bad. Okay. It could be worse. It could be worse. For a regular piece of shrimp, you're getting 2 pieces of microplastic. So every 1 piece of shrimp, 2 pieces of microplastic. Mm-hmm. Jumbo shrimp, 3 pieces of microplastics.
These were the little ones.
Tiny ones. Yeah, you're doing fine. A prawn though, you're eating a prawn. 10 pieces of microplastics per prawn.
Is a prawn just a big shrimp? That's what I always thought. It looks like
it's some sort of ocean bug.
But it looks the same.
Yeah, I think it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the same. I don't mean ocean bug in a derogatory way. I think if you're eating meat, you should be eating land bugs. You should be eating ocean bugs. I've heard the land bugs, remarkable sources of protein, very tasty.
There is a lady who does a cooking show where she kills the lobsters in front of you, and it's she makes a point of it, but she does it with a knife real quickly.
I don't want to watch that.
And I feel it's right, because everyone read the dumb David Foster Wallace essay, Consider the Lobster.
Yeah.
Right, and like the thing you hear is not air being expelled from the shell when you put the live lobster in the boiling water. It is the lobster screaming.
Yeah.
And hitting the side of the...
Yeah.
The cruelty involved in the boiling things alive, that's a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not into it. I will say, though, I saw this video of this lady who was collecting cicadas to, like, fry them up and eat them. And I think, like, maybe her, like, granddaughter or something, or her daughter was like, ew, I can't believe my mom or grandma's doing this. But everybody else was like, those cicadas are probably going to be bomb as fuck. Look at this chick cooking them up. She's getting ready. And I was like, you know, if I ate meat, I feel like a little fried cicada would be delicious.
No, I mean, I have heard that insects are one of the highest sources of protein.
They're supposed to be so good for you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, I'm like, if you're doing it, the water bugs are no different than the land bugs. Like, eat the land bugs by all means.
I always get freaked out when I see, like, a crawdaddy.
Yeah, crawdad?
Yeah, whatever. I feel like that's what they called them at my elementary school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Crawdad.
Like, I'm like, oh, that's a weird looking thing. But that's...
I think it's probably cultural. I figure, like, if you grew up, like, around a bayou or a place where there are crawdads, it feels very normal.
No, I mean, that was people would go to the ocean and bring them back in, like a cooler.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, all right. So the prawns. You eat a prawn, you're eating 10 pieces of microplastics per prawn.
That seems like a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Now we're going up to a crab. You eating a crab?
I don't like crab.
Okay, well, someone's eating a crab.
Yeah.
30 pieces of microplastic per crab.
I did see one of those spider crabs at the aquarium. Those things are crazy looking.
Yeah, did it look sad? All caged in?
It did, in fact, look sad.
Mm-hmm.
It was pressed up against the window.
Yeah, it yearned to be free. Uh-huh. All right, lobster. Your favorite.
I don't like... I haven't eaten lobster in the last year.
How many pieces of microplastic are you eating per lobster?
Like a whole ass credit card.
200 pieces!
That's like the magnetic strip on a credit card.
Oh, yeah. That's like you can eat 600 popcorn shrimp or you can eat one lobster.
Technically, it was lobster arms or whatever. Yeah.
All right, so next up on the list of different seafoods and their microplastic compositions, we got dried anchovies.
I do like anchovies.
Okay, you know what? Yeah. I feel like I liked a Caesar salad before I was vegan. Mm-hmm. I get the anchovy thing. This could be delicious.
If you do the thing where you melt the anchovies into your pasta sauce,
that sounds really good. Yeah,
it adds like a nice like umami flavor. It's good.
Right, I could see that being good Okay, so dried anchovy. 1 piece of microplastic per gram, usually an anchovy around 4 grams, so that means eating one single dried anchovy is potentially exposing you to 4 pieces of microplastics.
I'm okay with that.
It's not bad. That's not bad. Then we get octopus, cephalopods.
That bums me out, actually.
You don't want to eat an octopus. They're pretty smart.
Like, the thing about them, like, on Molly and, like...
What?
They give... I feel like this was, like, a viral, like, factoid type thing where apparently some scientists gave octopuses Molly at some point.
Oh, okay.
They, like, chilled out and danced.
I mean, I don't think the scientists should have done that.
Yeah, I don't know I feel like scientists do a lot of things, and I'm like, I don't think they should have done that.
Did we need that?
But...
Did we need to know what an octopus does on Molly? What was the motivation? What? I feel like we could have funded something more relevant and necessary than getting an octopus high on Molly.
I mean, like, the main thing, I have been dosed with Molly.
Yeah.
Non-consensually.
Did you enjoy it?
It was terrifying.
Animal rights, Earth crisis, liberation for the octopus.
But if they got the octopus's consent...
They did not! I don't mean to be a pedantic vegan on this episode, but holy shit. We don't need to dose the octopuses with Molly, I don't think. I'm
just saying, if the octopus was like, I'd like to buy... like a bunch of hits of Molly.
Yeah.
No moon rocks, please. I can't handle that shit.
Yeah, moon rocks is intense. Yeah.
Are you
Well, here's what I'm doing. I realized that I found out that for every 25 grams of octopus you eat, there's roughly 1 piece of microplastic, and that's not bad. But then I realized I didn't know how many grams, an octopus was. So it's between 6 to 22 pounds.
Yeah, they're big.
In grams. I feel like this is actually a really good number. you know?
Yeah.
Like 22 pounds in grams is 10,000 grams.
Uh-huh.
So 10,000 divided by 25, if you're eating a whole huge giant octopus, you're eating 400 pieces. But
are the giant octopus like protected?
Yeah, I feel like you're probably not eating those. You're probably eating like a 7-pound octopus. But you're not eating 7 pounds of octopus in a setting.
No one.
You're just eating the tentacles.
I remember, like,
right?
octopus was something that you specifically, at some point on a speech and debate trip, suggested that you liked back before you were vegan.
I did.
Yeah.
I used to eat a lot of sushi before I was vegan.
Yeah.
And I loved sushi. So if you ate like a small octopus, you'd be eating 127, but you're just eating the tentacles.
Yeah, you're eating like, and not even, it's like one.
Yeah. So I feel like octopus, you're probably eating 1 piece per serving of octopus is my guess here. Okay. So this isn't technically seafood, but people talk about it when they're talking about it. It's sea salt.
Oh, so you're Malden.
Yeah, exactly. 2 pieces of microplastic per gram of sea salt.
That's why you pay extra.
So you pay extra for the microplastics, that flake salt microplastic. One of my friends, Violet, hates flake salt, and she will be very, very, she'll feel redeemed to learn this about the sea salt. Now, microplastics are present in non-seafoods too. It's not just seafoods.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I feel like my ahi tuna, my salmon, my sashimi salmon, they all got a pass.
They kind of are not as bad because you're not eating their digestive tract.
My halibut steaks.
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm good. I'm golden.
The actual fish are not as bad as the crustacean, the shelled things, the things you tend to eat whole. So, microplastics present in non-seafoods, but way smaller degrees. So, for example, sugar. You got 1 piece per 3 grams of sugar. It's not great, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world. You're probably not having 3 grams of sugar at a time.
I dispute that. I don't know how. I feel like sugar is in so much shit.
Okay, so, all right. Well, for sea salt, for example, you're eating 2 pieces per gram.
Yeah.
So if you had 3 grams of sea salt, you're eating 6 pieces of microplastic. So sea salt versus sugar, you're eating 6 times as much microplastics in sea salt as you are in sugar. I don't know
how many grams of sugar people are eating in a day.
Okay, I'll look it up. I'm looking up how many grams of sugar per day does the average American consume. We're eating 71 grams of sugar a day. So 71 divided by 3... we're getting 23 pieces of microplastics from our sugar.
That seems like not insignificant. It's not a lot, but it's not.
It's less than a crab, but it's more than a prawn.
Eat prawns, cut out the sugar.
Eat more prawns, eat less sugar. Yeah. Alcohol. 1 piece of microplastic consumed per 33 grams of alcohol. Alcohol is pretty safe, I think.
Yeah.
It's not so bad. That is not so bad. They're also found, though, this is a big L for the vegan community. We're taking a big L here.
Tofu?
They're all up in our plants.
Oh.
They're all up in our plants.
I feel like we knew that.
Well, this comes from the frickin' soil thing, man. So a new study published in Environmental Research found that microplastics were present in common fruits and vegetables. Apples, in particular, have one of the highest microplastic counts. Broccoli and carrots come in close second and third. I'm eating mostly broccoli. I'm eating broccoli every day. I love broccoli.
So me, on my sushi diet, I'm chilling. You're fully microplastic.
I'm full of broccoli microplastic. Yeah, because you're not eating the crustaceans or the bivalves.
Yeah, so I've never eaten a vegetable.
That's good for you. Stay safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a real vegan L for me. So the microplastics are obviously intentionally added to agrochemicals, pesticides, fertilizers. So from there, they're going into the water transport system of plants, and they are moving, just like they move for the human body, they're moving through the roots, stems, leaves, and fruits of plants, and then they're in the fruits, and then we're eating them. So bivalves in particular, other forms of seafoods, do carry more than plants in general. Mm-hmm. But if you're like, I'm totally safe because I'm vegan, no, we're fucking losing. We're losing so hard, and it's because of the agrochemicals that everybody downplays.
Yeah, I mean, that, like, the second you explained the, like, agriculture stuff, which I feel like everybody knows.
You've never dealt with people on the internet, David. I've seen things.
I honestly think that is bad faith because they want to yell at you.
That might be
because true. I feel like you enjoy yelling back.
I'm a sucker.
You're a sucker.
I get goaded into conflict.
This is what's the theme song for Laverne and Shirley? This is a Schlemiel Schmazel.
I've never seen Laverne and Shirley.
I think you'd like it.
You think so?
It's about two young women who work in a brewery. Get up to misadventures.
Yeah, I like misadventures. Okay, so another thing you can do if you're concerned about your personal microplastic intake, besides just not eating food, apparently, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, don't eat.
Yeah, apparently. You could consider not drinking from plastic water bottles or using plastic takeout food containers, and certainly don't reheat things in them. So one microplastic piece was found per 11 milliliters of bottled water in one report. For reference, most bottles of water are 500 milliliters, so that means for every bottle of water you're drinking, you're ingesting 45 microplastic particles. Mm-hmm. Not great. That's more than a crab.
Yeah.
More than a crab. One bottle of water, more microplastic than a crab.
Honestly, I think that this should all... Screw the grams thing. Americans don't understand that. I don't understand grams. This should all be on a crab scale.
Yeah, we need to know how many crabs this is the equivalent to. I'm coming up with it. I'm making the crab scale for microplastic.
How many crabs is this?
How many credit cards per crab?
Yeah, that's
what I want to know. Okay, so the takeout thing, unfortunately, this is a major issue. It's estimated that people who order takeout, if you're ordering 4 times weekly at least, you enter this new threshold where you are now consuming between 12 to 203 pieces of microplastics every week through the containers alone.
Wait, who is ordering? What kind of psychopath?
You don't want to say this, David. You're not on the internet. You don't know the discourse around ordering food delivery. You're about to open a whole can of worms you never knew.
A whole can of takeout?
Yeah.
Wait, what is the takeout discourse?
Allow me to introduce you to the takeout discourse.
Okay, I want to talk about... I'm going to put a pin in 2 things. I feel like the words community and discourse, wildly overused.
Okay, well, this, I feel, is discourse.
Okay.
This is some discourse, and I'm going to do the back and forth for you, so you see. Okay, so first off, you've got labor activists like, wow, it's so wild how the gig economy basically gave us unpaid slaves again. Ha ha, because gig workers make on average less than minimum wage.
Yeah, and also, the sort of cognitive distance when you... the whole thing is shit.
It's all garbage.
Yeah.
It's bad. So, whatever. So then, other people are like, hey, disabled community here, we rely heavily on gig workers because the government has failed to provide us with the things we need to live, and unfortunately we are all poor, so we have to do things like order food delivery because we literally are incapable of feeding ourselves, and this is one of the few things we have. So then, you get a different kind of angle of disability and labor activists interacting together, and they come forward and they're like, how are you disabled and have enough money to order food delivery every day? I am disabled and I am poor as fuck. I can't afford this. Where are you guys getting this money from? And then other people are coming in and they're like, oh, disabled people can't have anything nice? You hate us now? And then everybody's fighting with each other. It is wild. I have friends who are at the level of disability where preparing food for themselves is a challenge. I have friends who have the oven chair, for example. You got to sit down at the chair at the oven because it's too hard to make it through a thing. And they do this not because they love it, but because they can't afford to do things like order delivery for themselves. And then you got the labor activists who are like, you being disabled doesn't mean you get a personal slave. But then people are like, well, do I just die? And then the labor activists, usually some of them have no idea how fucked over disabled people are in society. So then they're like, you should have full-time care then, sweaty. And then disabled people all on the internet collectively laugh, and they're like, where are we getting this full-time care from? And the people are like, the government ? And then you realize the labor activists have no idea how little care and support there is for disabled people in society, and it's this huge everybody's losing situation. The gig workers are losing, the disabled people are losing, everybody is losing. And this is the thing where I'm like, why are we yelling at each other? We should not, nobody should be yelling at each other over this issue. There's one common enemy here, and it is the government.
I'm going to stake out, I think, what is a controversial position here.
Okay.
Labor exploitation is bad. Full stop.
Yes.
That's it. Right. If you are somehow in the position of having a weirdly large amount of disposable income to do takeout, or I guess delivery.
Food delivery.
Postmates, or one of their competitors, for every meal.
nobody's doing it for every meal.
I don't
think people are doing it for every meal. I think it's one of those things where you're like, even though I have to exist on a very small amount of money and it is very challenging for me, it becomes a priority in my life because I simply physically cannot have the energy to make myself food every single day. If I want to live, I need to eat, and this becomes one of those trade-offs where a substantial portion of my income, way more than I would like, has to go to somebody else preparing and bringing me food because it is just not possible for me to physically do.
Listen, I think here's the position I'm going to stake out. Whatever you gotta do, I guess I can't be a judge of that. I am not in everyone's shoes.
You don't have the oven chair.
I don't have the oven chair.
Yeah.
I do know people in those sorts of positions, right? I understand everyone's story is different. It is a different thing to go from that to being like, and therefore, the conditions under which gig workers live are good and lovely.
I don't think anybody's saying that. That's why I'm like, we're fighting with the wrong way. Everybody's mad at the government. Everybody wants the gig workers to be paid enough to live. We want disabled people to have the resources and accommodations they need to live. We don't want to kill the disabled people. We don't want to kill the gig workers.
I honestly think
like we should be able to keep them both alive.
I honestly think gig work, bad. I think fundamentally this is
very exploitative, very bad.
It's fucked up and bad.
It is fucked up and bad.
And even like setting aside its like exploitative nature, it creates labor conditions that are fundamentally anathema to labor organization.
Yes, it does.
And I think that is fundamentally fucked and bad, and anything you can do to minimize your participation in that economy, and nobody's perfect here.
Nobody is perfect.
But whatever the fuck you can do to minimize your participation in that kind of economy, you should do it. And like...
But everybody's capable of different amounts of things.
Yeah, I'm not...
I just think the thing about this is, like, I think that, like, again, get mad at the right people. Like, it is wild that disabled people do not have access to the resources they need to be able to live. Like, what do I pay taxes for? I pay taxes for Raytheon. I pay taxes for Boeing. I pay taxes for all these fucked up weapons contractors. I would rather my tax money go towards helping disabled people be able to eat food.
Fair, I
think that would be awesome, and okay. I'm very upset that that is not where my tax money goes. And I am also very upset that gig workers are paid less than minimum wage and are heavily exploited in our current system. I am mad at both of these things, and I think so. The discourse happens on the internet, and
this seems okay.
Nobody's coming to that one thing where they're like, yes, we were all victims of capitalism in different ways.
But this is like when we were at the bar and you were like all verklempt, I was like, I don't think this is intended to come to some sort of like rational conclusion. I don't think this is why I'm like, I don't think this is discourse, because it's not discursive. It's not.
Well, I think it is, because I think ultimately trends from these conversations do start to emerge. There becomes like a zeitgeist of understanding.
Yeah, but I feel like
But this one has not yet. This one is still in the debating phases.
The zeitgeist, right, it's hither and yon. It doesn't feel like, like wisdom comes out of it. I've never like watched the internet perform its little digestion and been like, the thing that got shot out the other side is wisdom.
I have, specifically in the issues of gender.
Okay, I mean, I feel like I could, never mind. Okay. We'll talk about it.
So, the takeout thing. All right. If you are ordering takeout over 4 times a week, you have created a situation where you're potentially exposing yourself to 200 pieces of microplastics each week through the containers alone.
And I'm going to say, under non-disabled person conditions.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are you ordering takeout 4 times a week? That's bananas.
Those are just, it's either like you need to do it because something's going on in your life and you know it's expensive and it's not ideal, but you have to do it, or you are just so wildly wealthy that you are just like, yes, I lay in bed like a king, bring me my meal. I feel like these are really the two ends of ordering takeout more than 4 times a week, and they could not be more different. You're like the most heavily exploited, taken advantage of group in society, or the people exploiting and taking advantage of groups in society are the two target markets for people ordering takeout more than 4 times a week.
if you live in like an area where there are takeout or delivery type restaurants, right? That aren't those like bananas kitchens that are like 5 restaurants.
Ghost kitchens.
Yeah. Like if that's like the only type of restaurant thing in your neighborhood, city, place.
Most places aren't walkable though. Most places aren't easily accessible to get to.
I don't know. It's just that's I can't.
It's a lot to take out. There's you're not on the internet, so you don't know. You walked into just this pit.
No, I saunter on over to the Ralph's, and
not everyone can saunter over. Not everybody has a Ralph's to saunter to.
And then I recently
food deserts, disability, accessibility, walkability.
Fair enough. Here's a question.
Huh.
I would never wear headphones in the checkout line. Walking around the grocery store.
Okay.
Yay or nay on headphones?
That's totally fine.
Okay.
I think that's totally fine.
Every now and again, I feel like I'm being an asshole.
No, who's trying to talk to you at the grocery store?
I don't know. I was a little stern with a salesperson.
They're not selling you things at the grocery store.
No, it was like an internet person who'd like set up a booth at the Ralph's.
Oh, okay. You're allowed to walk by those people.
Oh, well,
yeah,
no, he got aggressive. He was doing a hard sell.
A hard sell at the Ralph's?
Yeah, it was.
Maybe that can be my after retirement job. Okay, so I got another one for you personally that you can do. This is a big thing you can do to reduce your microplastic intake.
Quit smoking.
I mean, that's one of them. It's not a huge one, but it is one. If you're a baby, don't use like your bottle like nubs, the teats of the bottle. You don't want to use any that have
The nipple.
I think they're called teats in everything I've read.
They're called. I've always I was a nanny. It was a nipple.
Okay, the bottle nipple. You don't want to use it if it's been sterilized with steam. This one is super gnarly. It's estimated that the total number of microplastic particles entering a baby's body during 1 year of normal bottle feeding, nearly 1 million. Nearly 1 million.
Well, also
and it's
me.
It's a baby. It's so little.
Also me. I'm doing that.
You're still bottle feeding.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it, man. Just don't do it in front of me.
Well, okay. I'm sorry. What you're saying is, listen, it's what I do behind closed doors is none of your business.
Exactly.
Just don't make it a political issue.
Exactly.
I'm gonna make it a political issue.
Oh, you're gonna make your weird baby bottle feeding. You know what? You're right. Who am I to tread on you? I apologize. So, when you want to think about what you can do for the environment, you care about the environment. We all care. Nobody's like, fuck the environment.
Some people are like, I love those toxic sunsets. They're in their yacht.
They're shooting the dolphins. You're right. Yeah. We talked about them. I forgot. So, microfibers. Let's talk about that. So, in addition to the hard plastics, right, there's the issue of the microfibers. We touched on that a bit earlier. Microfibers can be released from any textile, regardless of its composition, but when they're released from some synthetic textiles, we call them microplastics. Now, microfiber contamination, again, not as much of an issue as other form of microplastics on the whole. You might remember that 13% versus 83% statistic from the first episode about, like, fabrics versus, like, packaging type based microplastics or plastics in general. But microfibers uniquely present more in water, while microplastics present more in general in soil and air. And that's why you might hear people talk about the presence of microfibers in the oceans in particular being something more significant, despite, like we talked about, soil microplastic contamination being 4 to 23 times higher than water contamination. And that doesn't have anything really to do with microfibers whatsoever. So if you're thinking about water pollution specifically, it's not insignificant, but it is important to remember it's actually a smaller piece of the puzzle than most people believe. So it appears that the marine pollution is unique because it does feature more microfibers than the majority of microplastic contamination around the globe does elsewhere. So previously people had thought that the majority of microfiber presence in waterways was the result of domestic clothing washing, just like washing your clothes. But recent data paints a different picture. While 26% of microfiber-specific pollution does come from domestic home washing, 57% comes from large-scale industrial production. They call this fiber loss in the production stage, which includes cutting, sewing, and dyeing textiles. So again, it's one of those things where it's like they try to make everything feel like it's personal accountability and the individual consumer, but really we're talking about major, massive clothing production like Shein or Walmart being responsible for the bulk of this microfiber release into the oceans. So, an additional 16% of microfiber pollution also comes from cigarette butts.
That makes,
So 26% of microfiber pollution comes from domestic home washing. 16% comes from cigarette butts.
That makes sense to me.
57% is coming from large-scale industrial clothing production.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you're like, oh my god, it's my laundry killing the planet, it's not your laundry killing the planet. It is massive overproduction of garments right away. I mean, also maybe your smoking's less than you doing your laundry, but like,
it's not great. And
it's not great,
probably
but nobody's
also
ever talking about it.
Probably also, like, again, I am in the long and arduous and complicated process of quitting smoking.
Yes. I've seen you go through stages of this.
Don't throw your cigarette butts out. Like, don't.
Disposing of your waste properly at least puts them in a place where people know they are there and ostensibly are trying to deal with it.
Like, I'm not. Just don't throw your cigarette butts around like that. Come on.
Yeah.
That's also, it's just gross. Like, don't be gross.
Right. Well, okay. So I am like, part of me is like, I'm not even going to give you the laundry tips because I think it's fucked up that people are blaming individual consumers and not putting pressures on major fucking garment producers who are producing like tens of thousands of garments a day.
Well,
right?
You've already talked about the ball and the bag.
Well, I'm going to get into some statistics about this. So basic laundering tips, I will share them with you. They are helpful. But again, it is one of those things where it's like they want to blame the consumer, and it's like it's not the consumer, it's capitalism that is the issue here.
Madeline is introducing a new Patreon tier under the MOOP.
So, here we go. It's under duress, but I'm sharing the laundry tips with you. If you're like, okay, I know it's not really me as the consumer, and it's like large-scale garment overproduction, but I still like, let me know the tips, I'll do them anyway. If you're one of those, that's fine. I get it. Okay. Wash your clothes less, use full loads.
Don't wash one t-shirt.
Right. Fill up the loads and wash them less. Use cold water. Don't use hot water. Use less detergent. You're probably using too much detergent. Opt for fibers. Like rayon, for example, is my favorite fiber. It is technically synthetic, but it breaks down in water in 35 days, just like cotton does, and it does not require as much agrochemicals as cotton to grow.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, the microplastic releases less. Rayon is my favorite fabric. It usually is derived from a bamboo cellulose. Viscose is another word for rayon. So if you see rayon or viscose, that's the fabric I usually recommend people go to. People call it a semi-synthetic.
Does it have that kind of like silky, like whatever texture?
It can, but it doesn't have to. A lot of the fabric is based on the fiber you're using and the knit or weave.
Is it when I encounter it generally in my life? I feel like that is the way I encounter it.
Maybe. I'm not exactly sure, honestly. So I would say that the things, if you are looking for like an organic natural fiber, like organic cotton. Organic cotton is better than regular cotton, but again, you can't always trust the organic quote-unquote process. So hemp, really, really hard to find hemp clothing. Hemp usually does not need as many pesticides, so that is better.
Hit up your local hippie crystal type store.
You could find some. Linen technically does not need pesticides at all.
Oh, interesting.
Or fertilizers at all. However, it still does sometimes encounter it. Mm-hmm. So some people still grow it with it. And linen, frankly, it's not ideal for most people. Are not going to find that just wearing head to toe linen makes sense for them in their life.
Unless they live in Silver Lake.
And they're going to the Air One. Yeah. So, there are some fibers that are good. I feel like for the average person and their needs, rayon, viscose, this is the good intermediary fiber that you can use. This is the one that's my favorite. Not everybody loves it. It is what it is. You got to just think about yourself and what you want to get out of your clothing, whatever. So, also, other things that help with your laundry, using a front-loading washer rather than a top-loading washer.
Oh, why?
I have no idea, but something about the agitation cycle produces more microfibers in a top load than it does in a front load. Yeah,
okay.
I'm not sure. Hanging or laying flat to dry is better. An electric clothing dryer is one of the biggest sources of discharging microfibers towards the environment. So the less you use an electric clothing dryer, the better. Also, just in general, speaking of someone who designs clothes, electric clothing dryers with high heat break down your clothing faster, and it's making your clothes fall apart quicker anyway.
Yeah, okay, this is you have expertise in this area. I have folk superstition.
Okay, alright, I like it.
Right. Every time I pull my clothes out of the dryer, they have a stiffness that feels like old paper to me. Do you know what I mean? If you're like wovens.
Okay.
You're like pants or things like that. Where it feels nice, because it feels freshly laundered and clean. But it also is like, I don't know, this feels like not great.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why that's happening to your clothes. I have no expertise or scientific knowledge to explain why your clothes are stiff.
Okay, you pull a pair of jeans, like...
Maybe because you're like wearing them into a shape, and then when you wash them and dry them, the fibers rebound to their natural shape?
Yeah, no, like...
It's like the starting point. Maybe you've like stretched it out, and then they kind of shrink. They like...
If you hang up a pair of jeans...
Yeah.
And let them dry...
You feel like it's better.
Well, it's just it feels like the jeans just feel like jeans, right, when you put them on. But if you put them in the dryer, they feel stiff and slightly shrunken.
It's the heat, probably.
Yeah,
it's the heat. You're talking about the effects of the heat. Yeah, because heat can shrink certain fibers.
Yeah, and it you know, even after you've dried them a million times or whatever, and they should not have shrunk anymore.
Yeah.
Still, it's like they'll stretch out after a couple wears, but...
Yeah, I mean, in general, heat for most of your clothes is going to reduce their lifespan. That's just how it goes. I have found for my jeans, heat makes the fibers break down more quickly because most jeans are cotton. So cotton breaks down very quickly and heat accelerates that, so they lose their shape more. I'm not sure what you're describing, but...
Yeah.
There's probably, you know, it could be like the dyes you're using, maybe, like if you go for like a certain wash of jean, maybe the dye is affecting
I just wear old Levi's.
I used to work at Levi's. I should know this.
That's the orange tab 505s. I swear by them.
Okay. I'm interested in this. I want to look into this more. So also we talked about washing your clothes in a laundry bag or using a Cora ball, which can collect around 1/3 of all released microfibers. This alone, if you just added this to your laundry routine, would reduce microfibers from domestic washing from around 500,000 tons annually to just 350,000 tons annually, which would make microfiber released from clothing on par with cigarette butts. So if everybody just used a washing bag or a Cora ball with their laundry, you would literally reduce it to the same amount of microfiber contamination as cigarette butts.
And then they could all take up smoking.
And then you could just double it with your smoking. Yeah, exactly. You can also add the filter to your home washing machine, which we talked about. That one is the biggest one. If you are able to do this, it reduces 90% of microfibers from your rinse water. It removes 90% of them.
So do that. If
That's
you can, if you are not a renter.
Yeah. I think they might have some renter-friendly ones, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can mostly just shop for clothing less. Even buying new cotton clothes would contribute to massive agrochemical usage, which makes up, as we know, the bulk chunk of microplastic contamination for soil. And that's major. And if you really want to help, quitting smoking cigarettes probably would help, too.
So, is this the point at which we plug the discount for the vintage section of the Tunnel Vision website?
This is the point, actually, where I try to sell you my new nicotine gum. Madarette.
Is this also on the Moop website?
It's also on the Moop website. Yeah, you can get a subscription for it if you want. Mostly, though...
Wait, I'm not getting a discount? You're telling me...
No, you're actually going to get a subscription you forget about, and every month it's going to get 10% higher, which I actually said during checkout, but you didn't read that.
And also, for some reason, the nicotine level in the gum is just going to keep going up. So
you're getting more addicted.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay,
I love this, yeah. So mostly, though, the thing you need to remember is this stuff is not the biggest source of concern. The biggest source of concern is plastic waste. It's the first two ones we've been talking about, which is polyethylene or polypropylene. And that comes a lot from packaging. Yeah, and this just means we as a society need to move away from single-use plastic, from the types of packaging we're using in food takeaway, and marketing so many prepackaged food items in plastic. Like, glass is great. give us more glass bottles, glass containers. Glass can be recycled more easily than plastic. Most plastic recycling is a myth, as we know.
Those little netting bags that you get, like, for the produce section, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, those are cute. I also just, anytime I see someone use it, I don't use them, but I also just don't use the plastic bags because I'm gross.
No, I just take the vegetables,
It's like you're gonna wash the vegetable anyway.
I'm gonna wash the vegetable anyway. No, I do the same thing. Yeah, but, like, there have been countries, we actually talked about this, I did an episode about, like, which countries I felt really tackled certain issues well, and one was environmental, and I talked about some countries that had eliminated plastic bags altogether.
Oh, nice.
And they talked about, like, people in these markets who had started using these giant, like, maybe palm frond leaves to wrap and carry things, and how well it worked. And they were like, at first we were like, how the fuck are we gonna do this? And now anytime anybody forgets to bring a bag to the market, we just wrap things in palm fronds that we find on the, like, floor, and it works super well, and they're durable, and then you get them home, and they're like, we adapted so quickly, and nobody would have thought that we would do this before. Our country was just like, okay, no more plastic bags.
Even if you go to, like, a Trader Joe's, or, like, the co-ops in Olympia do this, but, like, and you don't have a bag, and you don't want to buy one of their, like, tote bags or whatever, they have, like, at the back of the thing all the damn boxes.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like, put your shit in the boxes.
In the cardboard box. I mean, but again, this does place a lot of emphasis on the consumer. I'd like to imagine what would happen if plastic packaging was made illegal. Everything would just be packaged in cardboard, in glass, and none of us would have to worry about this shit. It would be up to corporations.
That's like the obvious solution is like, hey, this thing that is clearly bad for and destroying the earth, let's make it illegal, because it, like, there are a bunch of, like, intersecting economies that benefit from it, like the petroleum industry and plastic manufacturing and agriculture.
Yeah.
Right? So let's stop doing it.
Yeah. Even at our little business, it's like the clothing has to be wrapped in something protective when it gets mailed so it doesn't get damaged if it gets rained on or something like that.
Yeah. We
were able to cut our plastic use in half because we just switched to a compostable mailer that's made out of, like, a cellulose derivative that composts. I can't remember. Like, some of them biodegrade, some of them compost, and I can't remember which one we ended up going with. But in, like, 30 days, it disappears in a landfill. And it's, like, just... If that was legislative and it was like, this is what you have to do, we wouldn't even notice. These would just be the options being offered, would be changed to fall in line with legislative requirements, and, like, it wouldn't have to be something an individual consumer thought about.
I mean, one of the things that has been a through line for what you've talked about is, like, differentiating between, like, or, like, not attempting to do, like, to offload to personal responsibility what is systemic and, like, legislative responsibility in some sense. And I think, right, in the section where it's like, what can you personally do? Probably, like, figure out who represents you and, like, start yelling at them.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, the way I think about the, like, what you do about any like, ethical issue or whatever personally, half of it is, like, the practical thing so that I'm just not, like, gratuitously an asshole to the world.
Right.
And then the other half is, like, to calm the anxiety inside me.
Right.
Right? Like,
sometimes you're just like, well, this helps. I mean, and some things you're like, well, I guess if the government's not going to help me limit my personal exposure to microplastics, it is helpful for me to know the crab scale of microplastic ingestion.
No, yeah. I mean, like,
you're
there's, like...
I'd rather know than not, I guess.
There's the part of... And I think that's, like, the part that's, like, don't be gratuitously an asshole to the world. And, like... But, like, that's half of it. And the other half is, like, look, I'm never... Apparently, it is systemically preordained. I will be an asshole a little bit.
Yes.
And so the other half is just, like, cool, I don't feel so anxious about it because I am conscientiously taking steps in my life to, like... It's, like, my penance. It's your fucking, you know...
Yeah. So the last thing that you can do... So remember the statistic about roadways kicking up the bulk of microplastics, like, in the airborne section and setting them places we don't want them to be?
Don't drive.
Yeah, don't drive. Drive less and take public transportation more. And we're right to demand better public transportation from our officials. This is just another positive effect. Like, encouraging more public transportation infrastructure helps in so many ways, so many people. And one way is that, it limits microplastic contamination. So, I came up with a conclusion.
Let's hear it.
All right, here's my conclusion. Microplastics are everywhere. Mm-hmm. You're breathing them in as we speak.
And out.
And out. you're a little less out, a little more in. You're eating them with every bite of food you eat, especially seafood, and especially food delivery, and especially seafood you're getting delivered, although I don't know many people who like to get seafood delivered.
I have definitely had sushi delivered.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not eating bivalves.
Get your delivery bivalves are really doing a number.
I can't remember. There's like the fancy sushi place that everyone likes in this town. I don't know.
Yeah. We think that maybe microplastics aren't so bad all the time in everyone, but they're probably really bad for some people. And some microplastics are worse than others. And most microplastics are probably coming from packaging, and especially food packaging and driving, and also agrochemicals that we use to grow things that we need, like cotton and food and tobacco. If you're outside breathing in the air, those microplastics are coming from the road, so stay underground and try to take the subway instead if you can. And don't be too close to a major city center because of all that road stuff we talked about. But also don't be in the country either, because the microplastics are actually more likely to pollute your soil out there from all the agrochemicals again. You don't buy synthetic fibers because that's plastic and that could pollute the water, but also don't buy natural fibers because the agrochemicals used to grow them are full of plastic, and soil pollution is actually an even bigger issue than the water. And don't have sex with people with penises because their sperm and testicles are just full of microplastics. So I came up with a way to win based on all this.
Be Ted Kaczynski.
No.
I'm sorry, Ted Kaczynski.
His balls are full of microplastics! He's got balls!
You specifically said, don't have sex with people with penises.
Okay, all right. Well, my way to win. Ready? You have to be a naked vegan lesbian with a problematic genital preference on the subway in a medium-sized suburban location, drinking triple filtered water out of a recycled glass bottle and only eating produce you organically grow yourself from a hydroponic home garden without soil, damn it, and don't have a baby because that bottle feeding is gonna kill it.
And also the placenta.
And cut out your placenta.
Yeah.
That's the only way to win the game of microplastics.
I'm just going to say, because you said, you gave me an obvious loophole here. And also, I would like to point out that in your sort of like mental geography of the countryside and the city.
It's hard. It's a hard one, yeah.
You did too. Like, you were like, there are two types of place in the world. Farm type place, which is the countryside.
I said suburban, medium-sized suburban
location.
location.
Okay. Well, but like the wilderness, presumably.
No, because
the lady. The lady.
She's like, all the protected land's full of microplastics.
I feel it. I bet you if you are an undiscovered penguin at like literally the South Pole, like not even.
Microplastic.
Probably not like Tierra del Fuego penguin, but like we haven't even been there type penguin.
You think that penguin? You think there's one penguin somewhere out there that does not have a single microplastic in it?
And his name is Ted Kaczynski.
David's approach is become the penguin.
Wait, do you remember when Ted Kaczynski had like a weird like edgelord left renaissance?
No. This episode's 3 hours fucking long.
Okay.
Alright, in conclusion, capitalism, hell of a system we built here. We're all full of microplastics. The end.
Alright.
That's it.
Did I make it?
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Pick Me Up, I'm Scared. If you would like to join us on Patreon, you can find us there at patreon.com/pickmeupimscared. For $3 a month, you can access bonus content there. But if $3 a month is too much for you to spend right now, we totally get it, and we're just happy you're here. As always, you can find the sources for this week's episode just by scrolling down a bit in the description.